Sills. Happy Football Friday. The calm before the storm. That's what we have here. The calm before the storm of next week. When you really start to see NFL teams starting to jockey and get in position to better their roster. This is where you make championship rosters, is this time of the year. Howie Roseman, America's great librarian, learned that lesson massively last year. You cannot build your football team on the fly. That's not going to happen. He's got to take and have the greatest offseason he has had in a long, even greater than 22. Before we get going here, hey, I'm going to, this is kind of off subject of football. I got to tell you this, guys. Mike Tyson fighting Jake Paul. Mike's going to make between $50 and $100 million, and he's 58 years old. Holy cow. It just shows you when you're talking about brand, name branding, I couldn't even tell you who the current heavyweight champion is. Still Tyson Fury? I have no idea who the current heavyweight champion is. I'm going to watch that fight. I'm actually going to watch that fight. Mike Tyson, in my lifetime, I wrote down the 5 greatest heavyweights of all time. In my lifetime, not all time. Ali, people I've seen fight. Ali, Foreman, who's been on this program numerous times. Tyson 3, Holyfield 3, and Frazier 5. Those are the 5 greatest heavyweights I've ever seen. Ken Norton, Larry Holmes are in there too. Holyfield won a cruiserweight, light heavyweight champion. Has to be considered one of the 3 greatest heavyweights of all time. But Tyson and Foreman, Liston, Shavers, those are the greatest knockout punchers of all time. Man, 50 to 100 million bucks. Shows you what name recognition means. Kind of gives you a little bit of a lesson here when you're hearing Saquon Barkley's name. The only reason Saquon Barkley is potentially going to make more money than DeAndre Swift is just because he played in New York and he was the number 2 pick. Notice I didn't say this. He's been the most productive back in the NFL the last 5 years. That's not who he is. You see, he's a shooting star. He's a flash in the pan. And I'm not paying money to try to get people to get into the seats at Lincoln Financial. I don't need that. I could put anybody back there, and they're still going to be 69.5 at Lincoln Financial, right? It doesn't matter who you have back there. And he's cheaper. Saquon, do I believe there's something to this? I do. I think there's something to it. But there's not a chance in hell that the Philadelphia Eagles are going to pay that kind of money for a running back who's always hurt. By the way, I heard Bill talking about DeAndre Swift. Well, I don't want Swift back at $7 million either. And I think he's a one-year wonder just like Miles Sanders was. I don't think he's going to put another year together like that. Hey, and for the record, let's put this out there. The Philadelphia Eagles and the running backs that play on the Eagles the last 2 years, would you not say this? They're a product of the great talented offensive line that the Eagles spend a ton of money on. You've had 2 different 1,000-yard rushers. Why wouldn't you have a third? In theory, I could put anybody back there. Sanders, DeAndre Swift, both of them are 1,000-yard backs. Now, is that more them? Or is that a product of the O-line? I think it's a product of the O-line. I think the O-line has way more to do with that success than themselves. Swift was nothing in Detroit. Miles Sanders went to Carolina, got hurt, never to be heard of again. Like he's in the abyss of running backs. So Howie shouldn't make the mistake of going after one of these high-paid running backs just because of name recognition. Just because the name on the back of the jersey says Barkley, hey, man, I could get a lesser player to be more productive. Swift is the greatest example of that. Swift had career numbers. Why? Well, when you have Jason Kelce, Landon Dickerson, Jordan Mailata, and Lane Johnson, and Jalen Hurts as your quarterback and Goddard as your tight end, you better get $1,000. Steve goes, Barkley fits your offense. You're not listening, dude. Anybody fits your offense. And how do you even know what the offense is going to look like yet? This isn't September. You have no idea what Kellen Moore is going to put in and install in that offense right now. As a matter of fact, Steve, the offense is going to look like Dallas's offense with Dak Prescott. And if you're happy with the Dallas Cowboy offense, that's what it's going to look like because that's who he is. You think Kellen Moore is going to come in and change the offense? No. He's coming into Philadelphia to run an offense that he's good at. You don't hire people to do something they're not comfortable with. That's my problem a little bit with what they're trying to do with Hurts. Henry on the Eagles would be insane. That's right. If I'm going to pay $7 million, I'm paying for Derrick Henry. I'm not paying for Saquon Barkley. Derrick Henry get 1,500 yards behind that offensive line. They would be a frightening show. Derrick Henry, 2,000-yard receivers, a high-quality tight end, top 3 O-lines in NFL. Quarterback, if you put the RPO back in, is a weapon on third down. And Henry, I don't know what you do. That would be quite the task for a defensive coordinator in the NFL, and it would put another dynamic. If you're going to spend that kind of money, that's who you get. As a matter of fact, Derrick Henry's the only running back on the open market that's a big money running back that fits Philly. The rest of them, dude, you get anybody back there. You've had 2 different 1,000-yard rushers in the last 2 years. Those running backs are products of the O-line they play behind or in front of. Let me put this out there to you. How many people think that DeAndre Swift is going to go somewhere else this year and have 1,000 yards rushing? I don't. I don't think he's going to. And look at where the Giants want to go. So yesterday, they had a meeting with Russell Wilson. Clearly a sign that they're moving off of Daniel Jones. Or they're doing this. They're letting other teams around in the NFC sending out a smoke signal. Let's talk to them. Let's talk to them. Why would you talk to Daniel Jones if you're the Giants? Why would you talk to Daniel Jones? You guys have an idea? I'll tell you what I don't get with it in a minute here. Hearing what you would say why they're talking to Russell Wilson, the New York Giants. Why would the New York Giants have an introduction conversation with Russell Wilson? Barkley would have a wet dream in the back of – absolutely, Steve. But so would anyone else. You've had 2 different 1,000-yard backs. He's overrated. I've never thought that he lived up to the number 2 draft pick in New York. He's never lived up to it. You could say whatever you want about Barkley, but because he went to Penn State, he was the number 2 pick overall. He hasn't really been good in 3 years. And you want me to tell you that, hey, he'd be great with us. I don't know. Not at $8 million. Why would the New York Giants talk to Daniel Jones? Why would they do that? What's in the best interest of the Giants to talk with Russell Wilson? Diane Rossini is reporting this, by the way. Why would this be a good move? Okay? Why? What is in the best interest of the New York Giants talking to Russell Wilson? Brian Daboll wants to coach a player that kind of resembles Josh Allen. They play alike. Anthony says to improve the quarterback position. It would. He's better. This is what I say why they're doing it. I think they're telling people, if you want to make a call for Daniel Jones and you want to buy Daniel Jones, or you want to have some conversation about some type of trade, have at it. I'm open for it. They're not expecting to get a first-round draft choice. You don't talk to a quarterback when you just gave a guy a year ago a 3-year contract at $40.1 million if you don't have buyer's remorse. Holy shit, you devalued your player. You'll never get a one for him now. It is now public that the Giants have downgraded their quarterback and devalued him by talking to Russell Wilson, which means they're open to taking deals that are far lesser than what people would think. And the Giants would have to do the same thing that Denver did. You know what that is? Eat a ton of that contract. Look at the cap hits. The Giants would be willing to take those cap hits to get him out of the building and to get Russell Wilson into the room for $1.3 million. I told you this yesterday. Wilson is a very enticing quarterback to sign right now. He's an upgrade to anything in New York or Pittsburgh at the league minimum. You could basically get a rookie quarterback deal for a veteran, potential Hall of Fame quarterback and Russell Wilson quarterbacking your team. And in the process, take the hit of Daniel Jones's cap hit. And you can balance it by saying, I'm only paying the quarterback $1.2 million. And you deal Daniel Jones, knowing full well you're going to have to pay some of that contract. Or absorb the contract, dead cap hits. It's very enticing for the Giants. And you're going to see a boatload of teams do this, especially with quarterback. I wouldn't be surprised if New Orleans, because of the cap issues they have, don't want to have a conversation with Russell Wilson. Hey, we'll give you $2 million. Denver's picking up the $39 million, or after that, $37 million. We're already in a massive hole. You improve your quarterback room. You got a pretty good roster down there in New Orleans. That's also something that you want to, he is going to help a team. Minnesota would be an absolute sensational spot for him. That would probably cost them more money, though. Okay? And by all accounts, Minnesota wants to get Cousins back, but at $38 million, $45 million, when I could sign Russell Wilson for $2 million? You see what I'm saying here? Russell Wilson's going to have a spot somewhere on a pretty good football team. New England. He could go to New England. They got a good defense up there. Get a couple pieces around him, offensive wide receivers. That could be a team that could turn around quick. They got a shitload of money to spend. Okay? Relative goes, nobody wants Daniel Jones. That is so not true. If we've learned anything, Baker Mayfield, reclamation project. Jared Goff, reclamation project. Ryan Tannehill, reclamation project. That is so not true. Every organization will take a shot at a guy like Jones at least for a second time. Ryan Tannehill sucked in Miami. He took a team to the AFC Championship game. Got himself a contract for 3 years at $35 million. That was a grand slam move for him going to Tennessee. Grand slam. Jared Goff is supposed to be a stopgap quarterback in Detroit. They're working on a brand new $40 million plus per year deal in Detroit for him. Reclamation project. We see this all the time. It's not like it was in the past. Organizations are open now to giving these other guys opportunities to come in and protect. Here. Look at the Dallas Cowboys, for instance. There's only one reason that the Dallas Cowboys brought Trey Lance in. Because they're kind of using it as a bargaining chip. That if Dak Prescott doesn't sign a team-friendly, I guess, deal, they'll move on to Trey Lance. Hey, if I'm Dak Prescott's people, I'd do this. Okay. Sure, go ahead. Good luck to you. The market that Dak Prescott would have would be gargantuan because of the numbers that he puts up. Gargantuan. If Cousins is going to get $45 million, Dak Prescott would get 60. But still, he's 2-5 in the postseason. So, as Jerry Jones says, he hangs you around the rim at least, and you get an opportunity to be in the conversation for potentially having something happen. Hey, if Nick Foles can win a Super Bowl, Dak Prescott can. Nick Foles was never the quarterback Dak is. He had a bright moment, great run. That's it. If Foles can win one, Dak can win one. No one would ever convince me that Nick Foles is a better quarterback than Dak Prescott. He had a better moment. That's it. No other thing than that. Okay? Matt goes like this, seriously? So you think Nick Foles is a better quarterback than Dak Prescott? That is absolutely bullshit. Everywhere he's gone, he's bombed except Philly. And he bombed in Philly. I mean, don't get yourself twisted, dude. A guy was a journeyman quarterback. Failed at Indy, failed in Chicago, failed in Jacksonville, failed with the Rams. Don't get yourself twisted. Okay? Why? Holy shit. Are you guys kidding me? You're really going to hang on that and say that Foles was better than Dak? Dak is better than Hurts. Don't get yourself twisted, kid. Yeah, whatever. Okay. I'm not going to talk idiotic here with people about talking about a guy who had a great and maybe the greatest moment in Eagle history, because I don't want to throw shade on him like that, because I actually like Nick. Foles is better than Dak. Then why is he out of the league? Why is Foles out of the league? Why couldn't he keep a job? If he's so much better, why couldn't he keep a job for more than 1 year? Ask yourself that. He's older. Really. Because quarterbacks today don't play into their 40s. Asshole. Whatever, guy. Let's move on. You talk about stupidity beliefs. Okay, I'll take this. Horrible take, stupidity belief that you think that Foles is better than Prescott. That is an idiotic belief. Nobody believes that except the people in Philly. Okay. Let me know when he keeps a job. Sure. All right. Let's move on to this. Some more news coming out. Okay. How many people believe that Vic Fangio is going to put the defense in a position where they're going to be a top 15 team? I made the prediction yesterday. One of my bold predictions. I think they could be a top 15. KP, what don't you believe about that take I said? What don't you believe when it comes to Foles versus Dak? What don't you believe? Where in the world do you think that? Super Bowl MVP. So is Joe Flacco. And okay, we're moving on. So, Xavier Howard. Let's see here. How many people believe that Vic Fangio is going to turn the defense around? All day long, Ray? Let me know when he can start and keep a job. Let me know. Jeff Hostetler has a ring. Fangio sucks? I'm not saying that. I'm not a believer. Flexing. Tell me if this here is concerning. So Jalen Ramsey came out a couple days ago talking about how Vic Fangio didn't know how to use the personnel that was down in Miami. Now Xavier Howard comes out, and here's some quotes. He had no idea how to use two press coverage cornerbacks, Jalen Ramsey and myself. And you got to think about it. At the beginning of the year, you could have made an argument that Xavier Howard and Jalen Ramsey were one of the top 3 duos at corner in the National Football League. And these two guys have now come out saying Fangio didn't know how to use us. We're press corners. That's who we are. We're not zone corners. Fangio played these guys off the ball and did not press coverage and use any of them. And the two guys said he had no idea how to utilize the two of the best cornerbacks in the National Football League. His defense was outdated. Those were 2 corners. Ramsey's considered one of the best corners in the National Football League. Okay? Does this concern you? In what we're talking about here? That Vic Fangio is going to turn your defense around. Does this concern you? You got corners that are saying, this guy doesn't play press. He plays that soft-ass defense. You're going to be doing the same shit you did last year with 2 corners that had 3 picks. And if you don't get home, you have no chance of turning that defense around with the personnel at corner right now. None. He's going to play the same shit that they played last year. I have a problem with that. He's not going to blitz more. He's not going to bring more pressure. And he's going to play off the ball more. So you're going to see control and contain with this defensive coordinator. Do you have a problem with this? I surely do. And again, you guys keep telling me how great your offense is. I don't think your offense is great. I think your offense has great personnel. I think you've got great personnel over there. But to tell me that Kellen Moore is just all of a sudden going to magically change that into being more of a ball control, that's not going to happen, especially when you have a defense that has issues like this. Now, this isn't me talking. This is former players of his that are coming out saying this. Vic Fangio didn't know how to use the personnel in Miami. And some will turn around and go, hey, he broke the Dolphins' sack record for getting home, okay? That he did. But down the stretch, that defense fell apart. And every time they played against physical teams, they got run off the field. Look at who they played last year. Dude, that game between the Eagles and the Dolphins wasn't competitive. That game wasn't competitive. Their defense was not competitive. And Vic Fangio versus that offense was not competitive. Buffalo destroyed him late in the year. Why are you convinced Vic Fangio is going to turn this defense around when he was killed against dominant teams last year? Let's take a look at that. If you look at the teams that he was coordinator for last year, and you look at the dominant football teams that they played against last year, man, I'll tell you what, I'm starting to look at this higher, and I'm not that impressed. 2023 Miami Dolphins schedule. Let's take a look. So the Ravens beat them 56-19. Is that so? Right? They beat them 56-19. Here. 56-19. The Ravens, a dominant football team. Blew them off the map. Okay. The Broncos put 70 on them. The Broncos put 70 on them. Let's see here. The Patriots. The Jets put, no, that's not the Jets. $56 points on them. The Jags put 31 on them. We're really going to sit here and say that this is a good hire. Okay? You're right. They put 70 on the Broncos. Thank you, LJ. Thank you. You're right. Bills put 47 on them. Fangio has had a top 10 unit against the pass in 8 of his last 13 years. Not last year he didn't. We are convinced because our defense sucked and can't get any worse this upcoming year compared to last year. Would you agree? He'll be better than Desai, yes. Sills, I want a defensive scheme that hunts and not one that gathers. That's exactly what I'm saying here. Ramsey's saying and Xavier Howard saying he doesn't know how to use the personnel. That's what I'm saying, Bob. LJ's right. Hey, there's no... See, listen. LJ's looking at low expectations then. Because his attitude is, you're not wrong, dude. I'm not ripping you. His attitude is this. Well, shit, we can't be any worse. We can't be any worse. I don't know if that's a winning attitude. We can't... By the way, I've got some targets here that we're going to look at for next week. And we'll ask you flat out. I can't overcome that Fangio's defense. Not our fake, we got quarterback that can't use our weapons. Tanner, they need to spread the ball around more. They just need to spread the ball around. It can't be a one-target offense. It's the same philosophy. That's the problem I have, Anthony. Same style. It's just different names on the title. I don't like this at all, nor do I. You're going to do the same shit on both sides of the... You see, listen, this goes back to the press conference with Howie Roseman and with Nick Sirianni, not at the Combines, but at NovaCare. They're not doing anything different except hiring more qualified coordinators and giving those guys a little more say. That's all they've done. They don't believe they did anything wrong, but hired. They're telling you right now, I have come to the conclusion Here's my take, Xander. I've come to the conclusion after sitting and looking and listening and seeing how Howie talks and how Nick talks. Here's my conclusion on the direction of the 2024 Philadelphia Eagles. They're not going to do anything different when it comes to drafting, when it comes to scouting, pro personnel, and when it comes to the coordinators, except for this. They believed they made a miscalculation. And you notice what I said? They made a miscalculation in the coordinating hires. That's all they think they miscalculated on. Not that they missed on putting Dean out there. Not that they missed on Nolan Smith. They're not going to go with any of that because they're not addressing that. They're deflectors. The Philadelphia Eagle front office are deflecting. They'll take all the victory laps they want. But when shit hits the fan, they deflect. And what they did was they deflected on the coordinators they fired. And so they don't believe they did anything wrong, and they don't say the okay? That they're in that position right now. Okay? Only reason that we're in that position. So for me, I think they've got to sit back and look and go, okay, so now this is more again on Howie Roseman in what we're doing here. By the way, I see we're having some internet issues. Thank you guys so much for hanging in there with me. May have to take a time out to try to reconnect here in a second here. We'll see if we can hang tight a little more. If not, we'll hit it back up here in a second here. Let's see what happens. So again, A-Track says Vic Fangio, his defense will dominate. With what? With what personnel? We'll and if we can
Imagine for a moment that you went to work today and when you came home, you were catastrophically injured. Your life and your family's life. That's what happened to union construction worker Mike Little.
I was scared of what the end was going to be, but to be 100% honest with you, I knew I was going to be all right just by talking with Brian. In my heart, I just knew everything was going to be all right.
Call the firm and find out why they say, "We got this." Call 215-458-2222.
Field of life, First Trust Bank is there for you.
Champions on 3. 1, 2, 3.
Because Philadelphia dreams deserve a Philadelphia bank.
Underdog Fantasy is the easiest place to play fantasy sports, and certainly the easiest when you're watching the NBA. And the NBA playoffs are almost here, and you can win money making picks. What are you waiting for? Sign up on UnderdogFantasy.com and use the promo code WIN. An Underdog will double your first deposit up to $100. That's UnderdogFantasy.com. Use the promo code WIN. Get ready for the NBA and get ready for the NBA playoffs. Go to UnderdogFantasy.com. Use the promo code WIN.
Hi everybody, my name's Jason Lombardi. I'm an inspector at DryTech. At DryTech, we offer 3 major services, the first one being basement waterproofing. The second service we offer is foundation and structural repairs. And then the third service that we offer is mold remediation. If you feel you are having a waterproofing issue, give DryTech a call or check us out online.
Do you stream on a Roku, Fire Stick, Google TV, or Apple TV? Now you can watch 6ABC 24/7 with the 6ABC Philadelphia streaming app.
And the big story on Action News?
Search 6ABC Philadelphia and start streaming today.
EAGLES, Eagles.
Big Sill! Little bit of a disconnect there with the internet. We appreciate you guys hanging tight with us here. Look, my take, by the way, please hit the like button. We will have today Jason Cole at 4:30, and we will have also the Philly Godfather will be with us as he always is, 5:30 Eastern time. So we'll get his thoughts too. That'll be at 5:30 Eastern. My point again with Vic, and again, it's hard to sit here on March 8th and go, Vic Fangio's hire sucks. It's not what I'm doing. I want you to pump the brakes, though. You know, I hear, I tuned into Bill a little bit today, and he's Mr. Optimistic. And that's cool. Nothing wrong with that. And some go like this. I'm a pessimistic guy, not a pessimistic guy. I want you to tell me who you are right now. I'm not going to sit here and tell you something that you might be this. I'm going to root for you and hope for you. I want to know who you are right now. And this is what you're doing today. That's all it is. This is what you are right now. You're not a playoff team right now. Now, after free agency, after the draft, could that change? Absolutely. Absolutely. But you see, one thing I'm not, it's not anything to do with optimism. It's being a realist. Anybody in their right mind would look at that football team last year and go, here's the synopsis of the Eagles. Man, they really had a good start to the season. And they had an epic crash at the end of the season. Their defense completely fell apart, and their offense had no continuity, and it became predictable. The coaching was terrible from the head guy to the coordinators. The players didn't fight for anybody. They didn't even fight for themselves. They got blown out by a Buccaneer, Baker Mayfield-led Buck team. That's who they are. You're only as good as the last game you played. You're only as good as that. Don't make it more than that. Well, and by the way, talking to me about 2022 falls on deaf ears. I don't give a shit. I don't care about what happened in 2022 is old news. Stop with that. Like 2017 is old news. Now, you can talk about directions and how they did business then in 17, but when you're kind of trying to compare things, when it comes to players, offensing, coaching styles today, that shit's old news. It is totally old news. Jalen Hurts' 2022 season, stop referencing it. It has no bearing on who he is right now. That's what he was. And especially when you put shitty coordinators around him and you don't give him any help. By the way, let me ask you this. So you really believe that Jalen Hurts' complete failure last year was all on Brian Johnson and not Hurts himself? Is that what you believe? That's called deflecting. Hurts had no accountability. How come Patrick Mahomes is able to overcome losing Tyreek Hill and also Eric Bieniemy. Well, because he has Andy Reid? Right. We still wonder what your coach does for a living. 85%, according to Big Chris, of Jalen Hurts' failures were on coaching. So, Chris, let me ask you something here. When your Philadelphia Phillies go into a batting slump, you blame the hitting instructor or the hitting coach for the Phillies and not the players? And you don't have player accountability? 15%, or what is it? Right? 15% was Jalen Hurts' fault that he sucked last year. And 85% was Brian Johnson. LJ's right. Mahomes has continuity in coaching. Exactly correct. It's exactly my point why Sirianni should not be the head coach. You'll never have Hey, LJ, you want to hear something? Jalen Hurts will never have continuity in coaching ever in Philadelphia. He will never have continuity. In his entire career in Philadelphia, he will never have it. He'll never have consistent coaching in Philly until you get a play-calling head coach. When that dynamic changes, he'll have continuity. Until then, he'll never. Hurts will never get the coaching he deserves in Philadelphia as long as that guy's the head coach. Am I wrong? Because if he does well, the coordinator's gone. If he does bad, the coordinator's fired. How can he get continuity? How could he get consistent coaching? I used to love Jalen. He's not the same player. Charlie, a lot to love about the guy's character, though. After he got paid, everyone could see it. Nick should have been the first guy fired. Absolutely. Okay? Hurts has had the same OC for back-to-back years all of once, okay? That also happened to be the time he put up an MVP-type season, correct? And then he turned around and had a flop season where he almost led the NFL in turnovers the following year. As I just said, LJ, he'll never get the consistency of coaching in Philadelphia. You're making my point. And I think you're enhancing the point, and I don't think you're arguing. But that's correct. You'll have an MVP season, and you can have a season where you almost lead the NFL in turnovers. So he'll never, ever, as long as Nick Sirianni's the head coach, have consistent coaching. Tell me I'm wrong. LJ goes, hopefully Moore fixes that. Well, if he fixes it, he's going to be the head coach of the Bills or the Bears. He's not going to be the head coach of the Eagles because the Eagles are going to keep Nick. He will, and you'll be looking for another coordinator. Because you know why? Just like Xavier Howard and Jalen Ramsey said, the Eagles believe that they think their process is why they win, not coaching. That's why they believe they win. That's why they change coaches out and don't have a problem doing it. That's one place. Being a head coach in Philadelphia is the least secure job in America when it comes to NFL coaching. Because they'll replace you no matter if you win a Super Bowl or whether you go to 3 playoffs in a row or almost have a 700 win percentage. It doesn't matter. It just doesn't matter. That's how they think. So when I hear guys talking about Vic Fangio and they go, this guy didn't know what they were doing. Get this. You got to listen to what they said. That's going to give you a precursor to what we're going to see in the fall. Listen what they said. Yeah, this guy wanted us playing zone and off the ball and 10 yards off the ball. We're press cover corners. So Vic did exactly what they do in Philly by playing center field. They're going to do the same shit again. Bradbury and Slay are not going to change anything. The technique's the same. The responsibilities are the same. Nothing's changing. Nothing. And here was a guy that was part of a game plan that put the players in a position where Bradbury got annihilated in the Super Bowl by Juju Smith-Schuster. I hate that philosophy. Because if you don't get this, look what he did with that. They broke the Dolphins' sack record and couldn't cover anybody because he played his corners out of position. Those guys hated playing for Vic Fangio. They hated playing for him. But now Vic comes to a better fit. You know why? Because they don't have shutdown corners. They have zone corners. So maybe it will be better because that's all those guys can do. They can't press. How many times did you see Slay grabbing guys or Bradbury tackling guys last year because those guys weren't press cover corners? They were zone corners. This is going to be something to see. You better fix that safety position and linebacker position, and you better get more sacks, or you're going to have a whole shitload of the same shit from last year. Seals, the Eagle fans we hope for a 3-win team so Laurie will have to fire everyone? Absolutely not, because I don't want to go into next season with Nick as the coach. I listen, man. Dude, hey, Joseph, you might want to hope that they win 10, 11 games and Hurts throws for 45 touchdowns so that they keep Moore and fire Nick. You might want to hope for that. They may do that. Okay? They may actually do that. They did interview him 2 years ago for the head coaching job. So they may do that. So here again, for me, listening to Jalen Ramsey and those guys talking like that, and Xavier Howard, makes me pause. Okay, so we know this. They're going to do the same shit. Nothing's different. You will see no difference in defense. Less blitzing, okay, and more relying on the front four to get home. That's why it's crazy that if Vic Fangio is stepping on the gas pedal to get Hassan Reddick out of the building, there's no question, in my opinion, they're going to draft an edge rusher and they're going to sign an edge rusher in free agency and they're going to get one in the draft. I think that it's a slam dunk that they're going to do that. The question will come down, are they going to pay? Here, let's do it. You know, I was going to wait to the top of the hour, but let's do it now. Free agent targets for the Eagles. Will the Eagles be willing to spend the money that they need? You know, I hear Bill and I hear the Birds 365 guys. They're going to have almost $50 million in cap space. That sounds great. What are you going to do with it? What are you going to do with it? Personally, you know what the problem is? If you spend the majority of that money on free agent signings, that's a testament to the inability to draft and to self-develop and reinvest in your own assets. It's also a double-edged sword on a message set. You spend a lot of money in free agency, that just shows you have no player development. because that money needs to go towards Devontae, Landon Dickerson, guys like that. People that you have on your roster that you drafted and developed, and you get them to the idea on drafting someone is to get them to 3 contracts. If you can get 3 contracts out of a player, that draft pick was well worth it, okay? It was well worth it. It was absolutely well worth it, okay? You have to at least get that's when you know you're drafting well. Nolan Smith ain't ready to be Reddick. That's right. You're going to have to go into free agency because you F up there all the time when it comes to edge rushers. You haven't had a decent edge rusher since Trent Cole. Absolutely. You cannot develop on that side of the ball. Development and giving young guys field time early is a huge problem. Mike, they don't want to put these guys in positions to fail because they're not ready. Nolan Smith's not ready. Nakobe Dean wasn't ready. Jordan Davis is barely ready. Keely Ringo is barely ready. All the young guys that you draft on defense are not ready to play. How can you draft Jalen Carter is? And kind of Jordan Davis. How can you draft all these players and they're not ready to play a down in the NFL and call yourself a good talent scout? I mean, the Cowboys miss on Mozzie Smith, in my opinion, unless this guy has an epiphany. And this year he turns into Vince Wilfork. That's not looking good. Kyle says, Sills, the A.J. Brown trade rumors are picking up. Good. There's nobody expendable on that team, as far as I'm concerned. There's nobody that's not tradable except probably the quarterback because you're building your offense around him. Hey, I agree. You know, one thing I do agree with Bill and the guys in the morning, you better not get rid of A.J. Brown because that guy needs all the help he can get. You start taking pieces off that offense, he's lost. He could barely find – hey, when he just had Devontae Smith out there in that Buck game, he looked awful. Okay? Looked awful. Dude, Chris, Mozzie was terrible. All right. I put these names down as potential guys. Now, the question's going to come down one more time here. Are you going to spend the money? Are you going to spend the money? Philly D goes, trading AJ is idiotic. Name me one wide receiver, Philly D. That's a $25 million wide receiver that won you a Super Bowl in the last 7 years. Name me one. Name me one. I heard Bill talking about running backs. Name me one wideout that was making top 3 money when they won the Super Bowl. Mike Evans wasn't. Name me one. Cooper Kupp wasn't. Devontae Adams hasn't. Tyreek Hill wasn't making big money. None of those guys made any money. Okay? Deebo Samuel didn't get it done. Name me one guy. There's none. All these big-time wideouts that you want to pay $25 million to don't bring you Super Bowls. They don't bring you Super Bowls. Paying a wideout $25 million. He gets all his numbers, and you guys go 1 for 7 in the last half of the season. He doesn't show up for 9 games, and you want to keep him. Okay. And it got you nowhere, and you got destroyed by the Bucs. Congratulations to you. Jerry Rice. Have to go back 35 years for that one, didn't you, kid? Then why are wide receivers paid so much? Fantasy football. That's why. Gambling. Prop bets. It's a lucrative position. It's the second most lucrative position on the field. You're starting to see wide receivers in quarterback annual salary rooms, gambling, prop bets, all that, fantasy. Because at the end of the day, I mean, Brady never won with a high-priced receiver, ever, a Super Bowl. Never. Like I said, Cooper Kupp was a third-round guy still on a rookie deal. He got his money in the offseason, and he took a pay cut. Remember, he took a team-friendly contract? Antonio Brown was making league minimum when he was with the Bucs. Big Chris trying to tell you Antonio Brown was making high money with the Bucs when they won the Super Bowl when he was making league minimum. They signed him to a league minimum contract. Tyreek Hill was not making top money. That's why the Chiefs did not pay him, and they traded him to the Dolphins. They weren't going to pay him the 25 or so he wanted, so they traded him. Didn't need him. Mahomes has won 2 Super Bowls since he's been gone. Didn't need him. AB never got the money he deserved. That's an AB thing. Okay? I think the more money you pay quarterbacks and the more money you pay wide receivers, the further away, unless you have Mahomes. And finding a Mahomes is right, Slagger. He's a unicorn. That's why winning a Super Bowl, in my opinion, you've got to get that thing done in the early part of these guys' careers before you got to start paying them. Because once you pay the wideouts, like, get this. It is not, unless you bring Kirk Cousins back or you sign Russell Wilson in Minnesota, what's the point of signing Justin Jefferson to a $30 million a year contract when you got Joshua Dobbs throwing him the ball? What's the point of that? Why would you do that? If you're Minnesota, how does that even make fiscal sense? When you've got more holes in your back end of your defense, your old line, you moved off of Dalvin Cook. How does that make sense? See, what people don't like, that and I get it. You know, I've had this conversation with Xander, and everyone's right. AJ's a great player. He's a great player. But this is about a team. This is not about him getting his. I don't give a shit about his numbers. That's why the problem that you have, the wide receiver on the other side is a really good ball player. And I think he could be an even better ball player if he spread the football around more. But that's not going to suit that guy over on the left side because he's going to come over to the sidelines and bitch more. The one thing that you know, what's the one thing you noticed in the playoffs? When you watch Jordan Love or you watch CJ Stroud or you watch Mahomes play, there wasn't one single target. They spread that shit out all over the place. And what were the two teams that were isolated on one wideout? The Cowboys and the Eagles. CeeDee Lamb, A.J. Brown. And both were blown out. Do you think there's a coincidence to that? The two teams that got destroyed in the postseason were the two teams that were isolated on one guy. CeeDee Lamb in Dallas, A.J. Brown in Philly. And both teams were killed by 30. And when you have Stroud, this guy Nico Collins, where'd he come from? Because he's spreading the ball around the room. Shit, I can't even name you all those wideouts up in Green Bay. Dude, honest to God, that guy up in Green Bay, Jordan Love, he looked better than Jalen last year. To me, it's not signing. Hey, look, the problem that you had is that this goes back to the Rager conversation. You get Jefferson on a rookie deal, and you have Hurts on a rookie deal, and you get 3 years of equity, and you don't have to spend $60 million on one wideout. That's how you keep salary cap integrity. Over the next 3 years, you'll spend $65 million on A.J. Brown. And if he doesn't deliver you a Super Bowl, what was the point? He got his numbers. He became one of the great Eagle wide receivers. Great. What'd you win? Nothing. What's the point? Your defense has gone the other way. Okay? Sills, to you, anyone is better than Jalen. Well, it's funny you should say that. This is not me. This is Fox. Came out with the list of the top 12 quarterbacks in the NFL. Let's take a look at that. This is Fox. Today. Dak Prescott, 12. C.J. Stroud, 11. Rodgers, 10. Kyler Murray, 9. Goff, 8. Trevor Lawrence, 7. Herbert, 6. Matthew Stafford, 5. Lamar Jackson, 4. Joe Burrow, 3. Josh Allen, 2. Mahomes, 1. Where's Jalen Hurts? This ain't my list. This ain't my list. Where's your boy? Hey, Big Chris goes, Rodgers, 10 played, 2 plays. Aaron Rodgers is superior to Jalen Hurts. He's a first ballot Hall of Famer, and he's better right now than that guy will ever be. Right now, Aaron Rodgers is better than Hurts will ever be. Throwing the ball. Don't kid yourself. This is Fox's list. This is Fox's list. Mahomes, Allen, Burrow, Lamar Jackson, Stafford, Herbert, Lawrence, Goff, Murray, Rodgers at 10, Stroud at 11, Dak at 12. Where's your boy? You think I'm the only one that says that. So it's not just me. Network that covers the Eagles doesn't think it. Hey, but Purdy's, hey, that's a good call. I didn't think about that. Purdy and you're right, Purdy's not on this list. Okay. I didn't think of that. You're right. Brock Purdy's not on that list. And neither is Jordan Love. All right. How you doing? Yeah. No. Philly misses the point. It's not just me saying it, jackass. Only people in Philly think that guy's a top 5 quarterback because he ain't. Oh, and Bill Colangelo thinks he's a top 3 quarterback too. Let's see here. Jalen needs a play-calling head coach to teach him like Reed. Absolutely. Absolutely. Completely agree. Right. Sales, AJB and Smitty together is a luxury we can't afford when we don't have a defense. That's a great take, Bob. Bob, that's a great, you can, Bob, best take you've had in a long time. That's a great one. That's right. In 22, you can afford it. In 23, you couldn't. It's a great take. That's a super take, Bob. Okay? Super take. Jackass. Yes, sir. All right. Will your boy Howie Roseman open up the purse strings? Move the zipper. Will the banker, head of financing at the Philadelphia Eagles bank known as Novacare, You guys ever shop at the Bank of Novacare? Hey, get this, Xander. Howie Roseman is like one of the best tellers in the NFL. Tremendous teller. You looking for a loan? What do you need? Are you looking for a loan? This guy's a teller. Randy Moss never won a title with. How many times I got to tell you that, dude? Moss never won a title in New England. How many times I got to tell you that? If Price is right. Okay. All right. Bob Barker. Holy shit. Howie Roseman's Bob Barker. Oh, my God. Hey, that's right. He's a glorified Bob Barker. I like it. Howie Roseman is a glorified Bob Barker. What did he say, Xander? Yeah. Are you going to take behind door number 2? Where are we going here? Moss went undefeated. As usual, Chris. Celebrating silver medals and bronze medals. Congratulations to you. You're part of the Philadelphia crowd that celebrates mediocrity and participation medals. Keep it going, brother. Keep it going. I'm glad you participate. Okay? Speaking of what, I'm not going to touch that one, dual threat. No, thank you. That's where we back up on it there. Okay? Yes, sir, man. Howie, the best Bob Barker going. Let's make a deal. Howie, let's make a deal. Roseman. Oh, my God. Howie, let's make a deal, Roseman. Tell me that doesn't fit. Let's make a deal. All right. Let's make a deal. I'm going to do that next. Hit the like button. Keep it here, National Football Show. National Football Show. Hit the like button. Keep it here, National Football Show.
Imagine for a moment that you went to work today and when you came home, you were catastrophically injured. Your life and your family's life. That's what happened to union construction worker Mike Little.
I was scared of what the end was going to be, but to be 100% honest with you, I knew I was going to be all right just by talking with Brian. In my heart, I just knew everything was going to be all right.
Call the firm and find out why they say, "We got this." Call 215-458-2222.
Field of life, First Trust Bank is there for you.
Champions on 3. 1, 2, 3.
Because Philadelphia dreams deserve a Philadelphia bank.
Underdog Fantasy is the easiest place to play fantasy sports, and certainly the easiest when you're watching the NBA. And the NBA playoffs are almost here, and you can win money making picks. What are you waiting for? Sign up on UnderdogFantasy.com and use the promo code WIN. An Underdog will double your first deposit up to $100. That's UnderdogFantasy.com. Use the promo code WIN. Get ready for the NBA and get ready for the NBA playoffs. Go to UnderdogFantasy.com. Use the promo code WIN.
Hi everybody, my name's Jason Lombardi. I'm an inspector at Dry Tech. At JAKIB, we offer three major services, the first one being basement waterproofing. The second service we offer is foundation and structural repairs. And then the third service that we offer is mold remediation. If you feel you are having a waterproofing issue, give JAKIB a call or check us out online.
Do you stream on a Roku, Fire Stick, Google TV, or Apple TV? Now you can watch 6ABC 24/7 with the 6ABC Philadelphia streaming app.
And the big story on Action News.
Search 6ABC Philadelphia and start streaming today.
EAGLES. Eagles.
Big Sales National Football Show. Hit the like button. We're going to go shopping here with Howie Bob Barker. Let's make a deal, Roseman. We're gonna suggest some guys to him. By the way, real quick, Howie deal or no deal, Roseman. I like it. Hey, one thing, AQ, it's actually not a goof. He actually does a pretty good look. I'll tell you what. Would we not agree that Darius Slay, the Gardner Johnson, and the signing of Hassan Reddick were all good? Those aren't stupid deals. The two trades, too. I mean, the trade for AJ, that's not awful. Those are not bad deals. Those are actually exceptional deals. Okay? I mean, I think that's his strength. He has so many good qualities in a general manager, and he has so many shitty ones. That's why you get a good year and a shitty year. His team is a reflect. Get this. You know how sometimes people say this, that a team is the reflection of their head coach? That team is the reflection of their general manager. One year you get exceptional talent. The next year you get a train wreck. You could win a Super Bowl and then 3 years later be a 4-win team. That's who he is. And it's hit or miss. And get this, he hits a lot and he misses a lot. That's why it's inconsistent. That's kind of who he is. It's like the mad scientist. He's like Jekyll and Hyde. 1 year, 22, exceptional. 23, train wreck. 17, exceptional. 2 years later, 4 wins. I mean, it's been a pattern. That's his pattern. The Eagles are a reflection of how Howie does business. It's hit or miss. He's like a stockbroker. You either hit on the stock or you don't, and it fails. Like a commodities exchange guy. Like a day trader. You know, you throw he doesn't do it with putting it into annuities. He doesn't set he gambles. He gambles more than you think, actually. Howie would be fine. He's good. He needs to give up drafting. That, to me, would make him more of an exceptional general man. Get this, dual thread. If he gave up college scouting stuff and the game day drafting, I think that would make him even more exceptional. I do. I think he would even be more. He's not good in the college draft. How many days and how many years are you going to go through this? He's just not great. Who's his greatest draft pick? Who's the greatest draft pick he's ever had? He didn't draft Lane. Okay, that was actually Chip Kelly guys. What's his greatest draft? Jalen Hurts? Okay. You and I differ on that. Smitty, Devontae Smith? Okay. I love that kid now. I was wrong. Okay, Smitty. Okay. Landon Dickerson's his greatest pick. Heck of a ball player. Okay. You really think that Howie Roseman knew to take Jordan Mailata or are you not taking into account that Jeff Stoutland said, I want him? You really are under that impression that he said, I want the guy in the 7th round. Let's take him. I'll disagree with that. I think Stoutland had a lot to do with that. Okay? Hey, did you guys see the new Chunky Soup thing with Jason Kelce? This guy's a rock star. Okay? This guy's a rock star. What is that thing? What is it? It's the Legends Edition. Jason Kelce. It's Kelly Green, too, the label. And it's got a picture of Jason Kelce on it. You guys have to check it out. It's pretty cool. This guy's a rock star. This guy's a rock star. So his face is on Chunky Soup. There's the best eagle that's ever been on Chunky Soup. It's Jason Kelce. At least you put a winner on one finally. He's in the labels and Kelly Green. Okay? Kelce brothers doing too much crying. Leave him alone, man. It's all good. It's all good. 5 million people watched the draft or watched the combines. Just for the record. That's why Howie had binoculars out. Howie had to be seen by 5 million people. Bob Barker, the general manager of the Eagles, Bob Barker. He's a glorified Bob Barker. There he goes, Andrew. Look at it right here. Look at it. And let's make a deal. All right. Let's move it here. Howie's going to have almost nearly $50 million in salary cap space. Will they be big players in spending money? Howie's a rock star. I know he thinks it. I don't know how many rock stars had a bomb tour like that, especially the last 8 weeks of the season. Shit, you might want to cancel that tour. You think you're spending a lot of money? You think they're spending? Okay. So I've written down 3 guys that I think that are in your price group. Okay? Flexing goes, prove me wrong, Howie. Let me say something to you, man. I got one guy on here, and this goes to Bill Colangelo, our great host here on JAKIB Sports. He loves this guy. And let me start there since I buried the lead on it. How many people would like to have this guy, Pat? Let's look at it objectively, okay? Since Bill Cauliflower loves, Big Bill loves Patrick Queen. You tell me. Age 24. Are you kidding, Flexen? I love the kid. He's a paisan. Hey, Bill, if I recognize you and I say your name, be worried when I don't. Because I don't know who you are. Most of the time, I don't know who you are. Okay? It's a good thing. Relax. I wanted them to draft Queen. Okay? Here's Patrick Steve McQueen. Ravens. 24. He's never missed a game. Had 133 tackles. This would be an absolute massive sign for the Eagles if they were able to do this. Okay? His market value was $18.5 million. Do you believe, Chris, Howie Roseman will spend $18.5 million on Patrick Queen? Man, I really like that Rolex, but I can only afford that Raymond Weil. You know, I only got $900 on me. I'm going to have to settle for the Raymond Weil. Not that that's a bad watch. I got a few of those myself. Okay? But LJ, LJ, you want to be a Super Bowl contender? You're going to have to pay for it. LJ goes, Queen would be a luxury signing. We have too many holes to fill on defense, so we aren't in a position to make that type of deal. Now, here's the only thing, LJ, wait, Steve, hang on. Guys, the only reason why it's not that bad a deal, I'll tell you why. Because the player pays for himself. If you're paying a guy that kind of money and you don't have to worry about that position for the next decade or 9 years, 8 years, something like that, you don't have to worry about that position, and you got a bona fide all-pro in the middle of your field, and that kind of pay for it itself. You know, I mean, if you could his age is the thing I dig in his production. The money's massive. That's a big contract. And you're going to have to sign him to a 3-year contract. This is $100 million. Hey, this is going to be a $100 million deal. This is going to look like Roquan Smith's deal. Are you willing to pay a guy 3 years, $100 million? You won't give Reddick $18 million? Absolutely not. Because he can't do anything but pass rush. It was evident last year. Did you not see George Kittle destroy him? You see how many tackles they missed? They ran at him too. And every time they ran at him, they ran him over. Absolutely, I wouldn't pay that guy $18 million. He's not that great a player. He's a phenomenal pass rusher. But when you get away from that, he's not very good. That's why he's on 3 different teams in 4 years. And that's why the Eagles told him to go find another dance partner if he could. Don't you think there's anything to that? He's on 3 teams in 4 years, and the current team he's on told him to go find somebody, and if they pay him more, good luck to you. You don't think there's anything to that? I don't know, man. I don't see the Steelers telling TJ Watt to go find a dance partner. Do you? You think the Browns are going to go to Myles Garrett? Hey, your contract's up, and if you can find a better suitor, we'd like to see what your market value is. I don't think they're trying to do that. Reddick is worth 16 to 18 million. Not on the Eagles, he ain't. He doesn't do enough. I want a guy who can stop the run, cover tight ends, and pass rush. That's the value to me at 18 million. Reddick does none of those things. Or wait, he does one of those 3 skill sets. That's not good enough. It's not good enough. Especially on a football team, like LJ says, that has too many holes on it. So you're going to give a guy a one-trick pony, $18 to $20 million, and pray he's your guy when Nolan Smith shit the bed, and you're not going to go out and come on, man. You're paying Patrick Queen $33 million a year at 3 years, $100 million. No. Okay, 2, 4, 6. It's $60 million then, Dirty D. Okay? Fake news, Sills, and you know it. What's fake news about it? He can't. Dude, your pass defense was atrocious. Your run defense was atrocious, and they ran at him. He's been on 3 different teams in 4 years. What's fake news about that? What did I say there that's not true? What did I say? And the Eagles told him to go find a dance partner. What's not true about that? What am I misquoting? What am I misquoting? Reddick can't stop the run. He's not very good at it. They run right at him. Were you not watching your defense at the end of the year give up 150 yards on the ground rushing, 138 yards on the ground rushing at the end of the season as an average? You were getting wiped out, and they were running right at him. What are you talking about? That you're blinded by your passion for the player and not reality. That's why, you see, guys, somebody like Fly Parks, he'll tell you bullshit because he likes the player so much. There's a reason why a guy is told to go find another team. He ain't telling you that. Fly, why would the Eagles tell him to go find another team? Why would they do that? If they love the guy so much and they love the player. Would you tell your wife to go find another husband, and if you can find a better one, go ahead? If you really loved the player that much, would you really tell someone that you really wanted to be part of your future to go find another team? It doesn't make sense. I don't know. Ask Howie. There you go, guy. Great debate. Trade for Surtain, sign and extend Gay or Queen. I like both those linebackers. So let's just say this. Patrick Queen is out. Now, they could shock the shit out of you and me and sign the guy and give him that $60+ million deal. If TJ Watt is worth $30 million, I'd say 18 a year for Reddick is a good deal. But not on that team with too many holes. So you're going to pay $18 million for a guy that doesn't do all three skill sets, and you're going to be in the same defensive scheme you were a year ago with the same personnel, except for the draft picks and a couple free agent signs, and you think you're going to be a top 15 defense because you signed Vic Fangio. That is a pipe dream. You're not thinking realistic. That defense is 2.5 years away from being rebuilt. You're not building that over in one offseason. That, you know why you're not building that defense up in an offseason? Because you've had years of failure at the draft positions of need on that side of the ball, and it's caught up with you. That's why that's not a 1 year or one offseason fix, is because of the colossal failures in the draft. And let's take a look at it. Nolan Smith has given you nothing. Nakobe Dean has given you nothing. Jordan Davis has given you something. Jalen Carter has given you something. Keely Ringo has given you nothing. Sidney Brown, nothing. All these guys that you've drafted have had no impact on your football team. Zero. Zero impact. And if anything, it's marginal. Okay? It's absolutely marginal on the defensive side of the ball. Your linebacker decision-making and personnel, you couldn't even replace Kaiser White. You know, that was one of the points that I was making. I think Xander was still doing the show last year when I was making the point. So you're going to move, you guys were okay moving off of Kaiser at 117 tackles last year. Shit, you couldn't even replace him. And Kaiser was a good ball player. I wouldn't put him in one of the top echelon, top 15 linebackers in the league. But he's better than anything you had on your team this year. So you let two linebackers go that you couldn't replace. And you tried to replace them with trash pails. It made no sense. Well, Kaiser White is replaceable. Funny, you couldn't do it. You couldn't do it. Okay? I like the guys you're talking about, LJ. You called Kaiser White and TJ. I'll give that to you. Hey, Fly, here. Dude, and by the way, Fly, I know everyone's saying, hey, Sills, way to go on Dean. That's not what I wanted. I don't want the kid to fail. That's not true. I don't hope for any kid. Do you think I hope for Nolan Smith? Here's the difference between us. You know, I may be critical of your team, but I do want you guys to know this. And guys, you guys really I hope are starting to get an understanding of how I think. I'm not hoping for Nolan Smith to fail. I'm not hoping for Nakobe Dean to fail. I don't root for that just to make my takes right. That's an asshole that does that shit. I'm not looking to be right so that validates my takes. Those guys are pure assholes that do that. Okay? Totally pure assholes. Like when I first came on with JAKIB and shit, Xander called me out right away. He goes, Sills, what do you make it? Devontae, I think it's a great draft pick. He's a schwimp. He's what? Sure enough, the guy turned out to be one of the best players in team history. And he is. Great for him. Kudos. Way to go. That's what I'm talking about. I like that kind of story. Not rooting for anyone's failure here. But I'm not going to not say what I see right now on March 8th and who this guy is. Well, Sills, maybe he gets some. Dude, great. You're talking again about that stupid word potential. I hate that word. Potential is something you haven't done. It's a stupid word. It's like apologizing and doing the same shit again. Okay? That's right, flexing. If he fails, he fails. If he succeeds, awesome for us. If he fails, awful for us. Absolutely. Absolutely. That's how, and I completely agree with you. Flexing, that's how I look at it. Okay? If he dies, he dies. Yeah, I can never get away, Big Chris, from a legendary Rocky reference. Always know this. Rocky, in my opinion, is one of the greatest movies, if not one of the greatest movies in the history of movies. I like Rocky 1, my favorite. Okay? Plus, he's a hurricane. How could I not like Stallone? Used to come watch Big Sills play. Love Sylvester Stallone. Oh, and of course, being Sylvester Stallone, he's a Miami Hurricane. Big Sills will always go, if he dies, he dies. Hey. Sills, Chris Sims could take some lessons from you, Sills. Joseph, see, the lame-ass sports talk people believe that they have to validate their takes with a guy failing. When in some aspects for me, I would rather fail than a Kobe Dean failing the Eagles. Because here's another reason, Joseph. Who in the hell wants to talk about, like Xander said, who wants to talk about a 4-win football team? What do you think this is? We covering the Arizona Cardinals? Nobody wants to cover the Cardinals, especially me. You know what I'm saying? Covering the Cardinals? Bob, if we spend $18 million at linebacker and sign Willie Gay and Jordan Brooks, Bob, that's a thumbs up. That's a thumbs up, Bob. That's kind of what the Bears did by getting rid of Roquan. They'd let Baltimore pick that up. Bob, why you hated on AJ? Because AJ's bipolar. Hate the media, love the media, love the media, hate the media, love the media. Then he gets a victory parade on Broad Street from WIP in the afternoon. Isn't this great? He came on and called in. Holy, oh my God. It's wonderful. It's unbelievable. It's like calling into Dr. Ruth. Can you believe it? I mean, we went over everything from masturbation to holy cow. I mean, the media conversations. It was really helpful, and I hope AJ has a really great rest of the day. Oh, my God. It's like listening to back in the day, Dr. Ruth and AJ talking on that AIP show. Guy's bipolar. Which is it, dude? You hate us or you like it? Okay. Check Sills' cup, what he's drinking. I don't drink and drive, which means when Sills is driving the show, Big Sills don't drink. No, thank you. Oh, my goodness. I'm going to not talk to you guys for a week. Great. I don't care if you don't talk to me ever. As a matter of fact, I hope you stop talking. And, I mean, that's my leader. My problem with AJ is his character. Or he is a character. I don't know. I can't tell. You think AJ's a bad guy? No. I just think he's weird. I mean, yeah. No, do I think he's harmful and hurtful? No. He's just weird. And that's the captain of your team? That guy? Well, shit. No wonder you're chaotic everywhere. One day you're here, one day you're there. One day you're over here, one day you're here. Which is a guy consistent or not? Then again, nothing last year was consistent about the Eagles. And it was a prime example of the wide receiver. That's how he behaved. You know what's funny? Your football team behaved like your head coach and your diva wideout last year. Inconsistent. You think there's any coincidence to that? Or no? Nick Sirianni, I mean, you talk about a guy who tells fables. Shit, Hemingway would be very excited about the books that he writes. Yeah, a cold, dark day in Seattle. Yeah, you know, we were hoping for pass interference. It never came. And AJ and everyone are like, Jalen, I don't know what he's talking about. We make the play up. Hey, Nick, they said you lied. Oh, yeah, go? Holy cow. Talk about deflecting. Right? That's right, baby. There's your leader. So when you ask me, AJ saved Hurts and Nick's NFL life. Really? Where was he the last 9 games of the season? I missed him. SOS. Beep, 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 beep. This is the Titanic. We've just hit an iceberg. California, how far away are you from coming to the Titanic? Beep, beep, beep. Carpathia, how far away are you from coming to the Titanic? 5 hours. 5 hours? I got 2 minutes. Beep, beep, beep. We're going down at the head. Hey, the Eagles are going down at the head. Hey, Captain Smith, women and children. Women and children. Holy shit. Too easy. Too easy. Going down at the head. Don't forget Jason Cole 4:30. Philly Godfather at 5:30 Eastern Time. AJ Hurts, bench Sirianni. Okay. It's official. Mac Jones on the trading block. Woof. I'm sure there'll be a strong market for old Mac. That Bama flame-throwing quarterback. Woo. Dual coach Sills. We need to drink together. Yeah, as long as I can walk to my hotel, we're good. Big Sills don't get into a car like that. Mac Jones a backup? No, because there's too many shitty quarterbacks. Dude, if Tyrod Taylor could start, Mac Jones could start. Yes, sir, baby. All right, here's 2 other dudes. So Patrick Queen, guys, Patrick Queen is a guy that would be an absolute course change for an organization that doesn't like the course change. We'll get a driver. Hey, Xander's my driver. Hey, Duel, Xander's my driver. Especially Big Sills doesn't leave bars drunk. I don't. That doesn't work for me, man. No way. I get drunk at home if I have to, and in hotels where I'm staying. Never in a million years would I be behind the wheel. That'll never happen. No, thank you. Okay, I got two other dudes. Would you guys be willing and open? Xavier McKinney, 24 years old, 17 games last year, 9 interceptions in 49 games. Pro Football Focus has ranked him the number 1 safety. Had 78 solo tackles in 23. And here's a price tag. His market value is $10 million. Is that something you'd be open to? $10 million. He's 24 years old. Had almost 80 tackles last year. Knows the division. And rated one of the top safeties in. So Steve doesn't want the top safety in pro football last year on your Eagle team when you got the worst safeties. You'd rather draft an unknown? How's that make sense? How's that make sense? He's better than even the guy in Baltimore. Sills, would you rather have McKinney or Gardner Johnson? McKinney. He's better. He's a better player. He's a better ball player. Now, Gardner Johnson's cheaper. Gardner Johnson's a cheaper player. Okay? Played 17 ball. And here's the other thing. He's 24. I mean, and I know Gardner Johnson's young too. LJ's right too. He's more durable. And he's a bigger player. He's a good football player, man. I mean, he's, to me, and the price tag, now here, with Howie paid $10 million for a safety. Do you think he paid $10 million for a safety? Boy, I'll tell you what, you have him and you have Sidney Brown helping Sidney Brown along, and you have Reed Blankenship, Xavier McKinney, Bradbury, and Slay. That's not awful. That's not awful. I mean, $10 million. Hey, 18.5 for the. See what I'm saying here? Howie's going to have to spend some of the cash here. If Fangio wants him, it's a done deal. Hey, you have to have good players at every level. You don't have to have spectacular players. We may never see another Brian Dawkins again. Hey, Chris. Yeah. You may never see another Brian Dawkins again. You may never see another Cam Chancellor. You may never see another Ed Reed. Those guys are hard to find. Dude, the best safety in football is that kid Hufanga who got hurt with the 49ers last year, and I wouldn't put him in any of those leagues. Hufanga, Brian Dawkins, not in the room. And he's considered one of the better safeties. And the kid Bates down in Atlanta. Those guys aren't in those guys' conversations. Like with Ed Reed and Dawkins, not happening. Not even remotely close. Okay? Those are special ball players. That hitters, leaders, contact guys, no shit dudes, winners, champions, all that. Play with intensity every day. Okay? Okay, I mean, tremendous ball player. Sales pre-draft moves. Gay 20. I like this. Way to go, Bob. You're thinking here. Hey, Xander, put that up. Put Bob's up there. I'd be curious to see how he performs on defense that doesn't blitz the quarterback. True. Sales pre-draft moves. Gay 26 linebacker, Kansas City. $7 million. That's his market value. You're right. Jordan Brooks, LB, 11.2. It's cheaper than Queen. Huff 26, edge. Geno Stone, Baltimore, 7.5. That's 35.7 of the 50. And you got money left over for your draft. Great stuff, Bob. Bob, that's really good. Bob's looking at building, and now you draft and fill holes. And by the way, Bob, that's what Howie does. See, Bob, if Howie went down your route, I'd feel comfortable he could retool that defense in one offseason if he does exactly what you just said. Okay? If they go down that and do that, that's exactly how you build your defense back, right there. Now, the problem with that, though, Bob, it's a short-term fix. Well, no, it's not, because they're 26-year-old linebackers. You're going to want to try to get another contract on them. Here's an edge rusher from the Texans. Jonathan Grenard. He's 26. 12.5 sacks last year. 23 sacks in 48 games. And his price tag is $13.4 million. And I think he's one of the most underrated players in the league. Jonathan Grenard, Texans. Once again, 26, 12.5 sacks, and 23 sacks in 48 games. And he was with D'Amico Ryans this past season. Now, I think the coaching down there is exceptional. Okay, I do. I think the coaching is exceptional. I'm awake. Are you? 13 isn't bad. And get this, 13-4 for a guy who got 12.5 sacks last year. And you put him on the other side of Sweat to replace Brandon Graham. So then you got Josh Sweat, Jonathan Grenard at 26. You got two 26-year-old defensive ends and two 21-year-old defensive tackles. And like Bob said, you went out in free agency and you signed some 26, 27-year-old linebackers that you can have in the room for the next 4 years. That, to me, makes sense. Okay? Yeah, Chris, I think they're going edge. In the draft and in free agency, I think. See, Chase Young, again, Steve, you're chasing the name. Chase Young did not have a productive season like this guy Grenard did. And he's cheaper. See, you look at the name Jonathan Grenard and go, well, you know, Chase Young. Chase Young is a name like Barkley. See, Barkley, to me, that I'm not paying for a damaged BMW when I could buy a spectacular Acura that's going to be reliable. I want reliability. And I heard Bill talking about DeAndre Swift. I'm not paying him $7 million either, because I think he's a one-year wonder. Sills, didn't that guy from the Texans get replaced by Barnett? No. He was on the other side. No. He had a great Super Bowl, Steve. There's no getting around that. He played spectacular in the Super Bowl. He was great. I'm talking Chase Young. It's going to be interesting to see what they do with Randy Gregory, too. Okay? And you know, I heard you guys talking about the running backs, okay, for free agency. Here, what or who helps the Eagles more at running back? Barkley, Henry, Jacobs, or Swift? Which one of those four, in your opinion, helps the Eagles the most? Barkley, Henry, Jacobs, or Swift? In 2024, and maybe the following year, 25, who helps the Eagles more? Jacobs, Henry, Barkley. If I had to rank the players, Henry's 1, Jacobs is 2, Barkley's 3, and Swift is 4. Now, price tags are also going to be a factor here. And I don't believe that just because the current market value is at $10 million for Derrick Henry, you might be able to get him for 7.5. You put $7.5 million on Derrick Henry, in my opinion, I'm signing that. I don't want Saquon Barkley. Overrated, overhyped, not productive enough. Hey, let's take a look at this. I think, by the way, Fly, I'm really not saying you're wrong. It's a preference here. So let's take a look at Saquon Barkley here. Saquon Barkley stats. Let's take a look at what he's done in his pro career. And again, I'm not even going to bother you with Henry's numbers because they're insane. So this is what he's done. 1, 2, 3, 4. In the last 4 years, Saquon Barkley has missed 15 games, 4 games, 1 game, and 3 games. Here's his numbers: 34 rushing, 20, 593 and 21, 13, 12 and 22, 962 last year. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. In 6 years, 3 times he went over 1,000. He's got 35 TDs in 6 years. You're going to pay $8 million for a guy that in the last 2 years or 3 years has rushed for 593, 13, 12, and 962. And you're going to say that guy's an elite running back? He's not elite. Now, Sills, would you say that the team sucks? Well, the year previous, they did get to the playoffs and beat the Vikings in the postseason. They weren't awful. This past season they were. But, I mean, in 22, they went to the postseason. And they were a playoff team. Good call. I mean, look at what 5-Star's saying here. Sills, you really think that Barkley can't produce in the Eagle offense? 5-Star, that's my point. DeAndre Swift and Miles Sanders are 1,000-yard rushers behind that line. Why would you want to overpay a guy when you can get another guy like one of those dudes that have the same production as Barkley? If you put Derrick Henry behind, if I'm going to spend that money, I'm spending it for Henry, not him. Henry's not hurt a lot. And he's a horse. So let's do this. Who would have a better season behind the Eagle O-line? Derrick Henry or Saquon Barkley? I mean, I don't believe that that's even a question. And by the way, what's Barkley's age? He's 26. He's 3 years younger than Derrick Henry. I don't know. So again, if Barkley wants to take a haircut and he wants to come to Philadelphia for $5 million, sure. $8 million, $7 million. I'm talking more about Derrick Henry there. That's right, Joshua. It's a no-brainer. So I'll tell you something, guys. If somehow, let's fantasize here for a second. But that guy Brock Bowers falls down there, and you draft him, and you got Goddard and Bowers and AJ and Devontae, and you sign Derrick Henry with Hurts. If you don't win a Super Bowl, it'll be the biggest travesty since that 17-0 Patriot team. Dare I say it'll be the dream team. Draft a running back? I guess so. Okay, watch this. So wait, Flexen. Would you rather draft Derrick Henry? I mean, would you rather sign Derrick Henry to your offense or draft a running back? If you feel you're that close. See, Kenny Gainwell and Derrick Henry is not awful. Kenny Gainwell and DeAndre Swift is. Sills running back. I'd sign A.J. Dillon, 3.5. Cordell Patterson, 2.5. Dillon's only 25, and Patterson helps in the return game. Hey, Bob, what are you taking? Your smart-ass pills? Those are good stuff today, man. Dude, that Bob's talking about how you build the team back up again. Okay? That's how you build the team up. I like that. Gainwell got to go. Boston Scott, too. I don't even know. Hey, Boston Scott, Rashad Penny, being on your football team made no sense last year because you did nothing with him. Sign Barkley and draft Allens from – dude, this love affair with Saquon Barkley is a joke. Here, now, and maybe, Steve, if you're going down this route, can I tell you what I think I would do if I were the Chargers? I would sign Chris Jones. Weaken a divisional opponent, strengthen my team with one move. You feel me? And if you're going down that line, weaken the Giants. Not that the Giants need to be weakened because they're weak already with management. That's a way to look at this, and a lot of things that are being thrown out now. Okay, and that's a lot of things are being thrown out. Is just that kind of scenario. If I'm the Chargers and I'm Jim Harbaugh, I want to sign Chris Jones in free agency and put Chris Jones in the middle of my defense and hurt Kansas City in the process. That gives me a better chance of winning the division in the AFC West if you weaken Kansas City. Now, if you're thinking like that, Barkley out of the building, I'd rather go Tony Pollard and start sending some smoke signals that I'm interested in Tony Pollard. Because what will happen if the Eagles go out and say, I'm interested in Tony Pollard? What will Jerry do? That may force Jerry Jones to have to come up with a way to sign Pollard. And plus, that'll put other teams in a division like Washington to maybe go out there instead of having Antonio Gibson by himself, Antonio Gibson and Tony Pollard in Washington with Russell Wilson. That is going to have to make – you see, right now you're playing a game with everybody in your division. The one thing you have to remember during this time in free agency, it's not about beating the Chiefs. It's about winning your division. It's about drafting against your division opponents. What are they doing in free agency? Sending false smoke signals out. Hey, wait a minute. It's not the point, Taylor. That's not the point. Here. So the New York Giants. Why would the New York Giants show interest in Russell Wilson? Why would they do that? Why would they do that? Because do the Giants want Russell Wilson in Washington? Or are they talking because they're hearing that Washington is going to be the next team up after Pittsburgh? He's meeting with Pittsburgh today. He met with the Giants yesterday. And supposedly they're going to meet in Washington. Is this something that also you go like this? So let's get into this. And You'll have the worst quarterback in the division if Russell Wilson signs with Washington. Because Dak, Hurts, okay, Russell Wilson in the NFC East, Daniel Jones would be the worst quarterback in the division. I mean, I'm not suggesting to you that Russell Wilson's some superstar ball player. I'm suggesting to you that New York has to, if Washington gets Russell Wilson or Justin Fields, it's an automatic improvement. And I don't think Sam Howell's terrible, but he's not going to win a game, and he's not going to win that division for you. And remember something about Washington. They got $90 million in cap space. So they can do some things. You know what they can do? Think about this. They could sign Russell Wilson and make a trade with Minnesota and sign Justin Jefferson. Get $87 million in cap space and send them draft picks. They could sign Justin Jefferson. They have the money to do that. And you sign them on a league minimum deal, 1.3. Economically sound. It's an upgrade. And it affords me the ability to go trade for Justin Jefferson. Wilson's done. Hey, dude, he theoretically had a better season than Jalen. How can you say that? 26 touchdowns. He threw more touchdowns, less picks, 8. Had a better quarterback rating. Had a better completion percentage rating. He wasn't terrible. Your guy was 18 turnovers. I like how people throw shade on someone else, and then when you look at your guy, you're trying to tell me you think your guy has had some sort of superstar year. He sucked. And he couldn't stop the bleeding at the end of the season. And at the end of the day, I think Sean Payton's overrated. I don't think Sean Payton's a Hall of Fame coach. I think he's a modern-day George Seifert. I think he rested on the laurels of having Drew Brees. Drew Brees was a Pro Bowler in San Diego before he hurt his shoulder. Wasn't like all of a sudden Sean Payton, some superstar guy. I don't believe that. Okay? I don't believe that. I just don't. I think he's a good coach, not a great coach. Hurts needs a running game? You had a 1,000-yard back and a Pro Bowl back. You mean Hurts needs to run the ball? I would say this to you. Is Russell Wilson Seattle first couple of years? No. But I don't think you need that in Washington to win. Look at I don't think you need that. Okay? Broncos gave up 2 1s. And what else, Chris? Money. That $85 million. Say, get this, Chris. $85 million cap hit and 2 1s. That deal's worse than the deal for Trey Lance with the Dolphins because of the amount of money. My friend Jason Kolf, NFL Insider, Hall of Fame voter, is all over this. Yahoo Sports, that'll be at the bottom of the hour. Also, the legendary Philly Godfather at 5:30. Hit the like button. Keep it here, National Football Show.
Imagine for a moment that you went to work today and when you came home, you were catastrophically injured. Your life and your family's life. That's what happened to union construction worker Mike Little.
I was scared of what the end was going to be, but to be 100% honest with you, I knew I was going to be all right just by talking with Brian. In my heart, I just knew everything was going to be all right.
Call the firm and find out why they say, "We got this." Call 215-458-2222.
field of life, First Trust Bank is there for you.
Champions on 3. 1, 2, 3.
Because Philadelphia dreams deserve a Philadelphia bank.
Underdog Fantasy is the easiest place to play fantasy sports, and certainly the easiest when you're watching the NBA. And the NBA playoffs are almost here, and you can win money making picks. What are you waiting for? Sign up on UnderdogFantasy.com and use the promo code WIN. An Underdog will double your first deposit up to $100. That's UnderdogFantasy.com. Use the promo code WIN. Get ready for the NBA and get ready for the NBA playoffs. Go to UnderdogFantasy.com. Use the promo code WIN.
Hi everybody, my name's Jason Lombardi. I'm an inspector at DryTech. At DryTech we offer three major services, the first one being basement waterproofing. The second service we offer is foundation and structural repairs. And then the third service that we offer is mold remediation. If you feel you are having a waterproofing issue, give DryTech a call or check us out online.
Do you stream on a Roku, Fire Stick, Google TV, or Apple TV? Now you can watch 6ABC 24/7 with the 6ABC Philadelphia streaming app.
For the big story on Action News,
Search 6ABC Philadelphia and start streaming today.
EAGLES. Eagles.
Big Sales National Football Show. Jason Cole, bottom of the hour, Pro Football Hall of Fame voter, Yahoo Sports, 24/7. By the way, I just got a text message from Leon Searcy. You guys know who he is? Played with the Pittsburgh Steelers, Jacksonville Jaguars. He said, Sills, you still see this here? Sports 24/7 still has the 86 here. 24/7 Sports still has the 86 Miami Hurricanes as college football's most hated team. That always brings a smile to my face. You hate us because you ain't us. Go Canes. Oh, my God. We caused so much shit, Jerome and I, on that team. You know what? You could never do the things we did in today's soft-ass, woke-ass world. Oh, my God. But then again, you were calling us criminals, Catholics versus criminals. What else were you saying? Somebody, was it Rick Riley, wrote in his column for Sports Illustrated, Miami's the only team that takes its team picture from the front and side. And I was like, okay, I don't believe you could say that. Very racist. But hey, it's okay. We brought a lot of that shit on ourselves. I used to call people out you see, you guys think that sports broadcasting did this to me. I talked shit like this back in high school. I've always been a shit talker. I called Bosworth. They called me the mouth of the South when I was at UM. Said Bosworth's the most overrated player in the country. I said that he couldn't play on our team, which he could. Didn't matter. I said Penn State is a bunch of bookworms. Hey, Xander. I said that Joe Paterno was a CPA coach, and he's a paisan. And I said that the Penn State guys, I said they were a bunch of librarians and bookworms. So it's kind of gone away. I think a little bit, at least for me. But I'm with Leon, man. That always gives me a smile when you see this here. Speaking of college coaches, I'm going to get into the NFL here in a second. But one thing about Xander's boy, see Nick Saban, what he's doing now, he's crying about the nil. You know, the players, all they ask now is how much they want to be paid. You know, it's just a different world today. We had different standards. This nil and paying of the college players has destroyed college football. It's a zoo out there now. It's really not fair. College football is just different. You know what I say to you on that? Well, I'll tell you what I'll do there, Nikki. When coaches around the country sign a scholarship or sign a contract that they're loyal to, like Brian Kelly or any of these other guys, and they can't just jump ships too whenever they feel like it with a better opportunity, why do you get a chance to do that? You've never had to sit out. All the players had to sit out. Now the transfer portal allows you to go places, make money like you. Who are you to stop my ability to make money and better myself when you coaches do it every year? Why do you get to do it? Why? Because you think you're an adult? What about my family who lives in a single bedroom, has 2 rooms in the place, and can barely feed us? I'm supposed to sit there and be what? Loyal to you? For what? I think it's fabulous that these coaches are getting run out of the business. All the decades and years of just absolutely using these players like cattle. I'm not going to say the other word, but seriously, college football players were cattle to these coaches. They're there for the advancement of their farm. They slaughtered the kids. It didn't matter. New group of kids. As long as I made my money, who gives a shit about the kid if he graduated? Who gives a shit about the kid if he ends up in jail? All I care is the kid helps me make more money and better my situation, or give me a better situation somewhere else. And now they're crying about it. Fantastic. It's about time. It's taken 100 years, but it's about time. You have no right to take advantage of a kid or another family's kid to better yourself when you cry like that. Saban's crying, and so is Debo. Okay? Dabo Swinney, he's also crying. You know, it's not the same. Shut up. He makes $10 million a year. Lincoln Riley makes $13 million. I'm supposed to moan for you? The National Communist Association of America, a.k.a. NC2A, is one of the biggest fascist companies on the planet. They believe in socialism. Work for the state. Well, that's changed thanks to the federal government and the Supreme Court. Fantastic. Capitalism, baby. Welcome to the new age of college football. It's the best thing ever happened to it. Hey, may the team with the most money, like in all sports, good luck to you. It's the land of the strong and the weak. You're either going to compete or you're not. And if you can't, goodbye. That's how the wild works. If you're too weak, you get eaten. If you're the big lion, you got the pride. This is not a democracy. It's a dictatorship. Or no, it used to be a dictatorship. Now, it don't work that way no more. I love it. See, a program like Temple, I know you guys don't give a shit about that program, but a program like Temple has no chance at doing anything in the world of college sports in today's landscape. It didn't before. Now it's even worse. You should be a basketball program and take your football program away. If you go to, now look, there's a part of me that says, Sills, you still want to take the coolness of getting a scholarship and representing a school and a great school like Temple and play college football. Is that a bad thing? No, but don't give the kid false hopes that if you go undefeated, you're going to win a national championship, because you're not. You'll never play for one in your life. You can go undefeated for 5 years in a row. Today's college sports does not allow that, a team like Temple, ever to play for a national title. Just as long as you know that, I'm cool with it. But you're taking resources away from a school that's a basketball program. I think what you're going to get over the next couple of years, you're going to see a lot of programs decide football or basketball. Okay, SEC can survive. All the SEC, get this. Hey, Xander, get this. You know what the operating budget was for Temple last year when they got their TV and all that? $5 million. You know what it was for Vanderbilt in the SEC? $68 million. All 10 teams share. I know there's new teams coming in now, Texas and OU. But all 10 teams shared $68 million on the TV packages. That's TV alone, not merchandising and not seats and attendance. Those programs make over $150 to $200 million a year. $200 million a year versus a program that makes $3 million. What do you think's happening? And you got coaches crying, I'm out of the game. I can't put Neil together. Hey, Nick, it's all good, dude. Legendary coach. Greatest college football coach of all time. It's time to go away. College football's changed for the better. Slugger says Patrick Queen, 5 years, $75 million, 60 guaranteed. What do you think? 15 a year. $3 million under. Now, Slugger, according to some, and what's being floated around out there, is that the linebacker and running back room and safety position is going to have a market where you're going to see a lot of one-year deals. Sills, it's not that Temple can't compete. It's that they don't play teams that can pay them. South Carolina will never, but they get paid to play the rest of the SEC. If I were Temple, I'd play every one of those big schools for $1.9 million. That's how some of those programs like Coastal Carolina, if I were Temple, I would schedule Alabama, Georgia. I'd love to play them. I'd even if I got beat 78-0. That's how those programs all got built. How do you think Coastal Carolina got built? They went around playing all the big programs, and they eventually ended up beating them. You imagine paying a team $2 million and they end up beating you? That's not the return you're looking for. It's starting to happen a lot. And Bob, what sucks about Temple, it's one of the original college football programs in the country that's got a legacy like them, Princeton, the Ivy League teams. Temple's one of the greatest college football historical programs in the country. But like Minnesota, those programs were great 60s, 30s, and 40s, and they haven't been since. And, again, in a city like Philly, there's not a high priority to cover it, to watch it. Hey, by the way, they play at Franklin Field? Does Temple play at Franklin Field? That's where I would play. If I were them, I'd play at Franklin Field where they hold the Penn Relays. Because that's a legendary stadium. And if I were them, where the Eagles played back in the day, where Bednarik played, that's where I would have Temple play, is at Franklin Field. Appalachian State, another program that was built through going and playing. And, when they beat Michigan, Bob, when they beat Michigan, it changed their program around. Now teams are afraid. Temple plays at the Link. That's cool. That's pretty cool. Miami plays at Hard Rock. Okay, Miami plays at Hard Rock, so yeah. Jason Cole's going to join us at the bottom of the hour. I'm awake, are you? Franklin is too small, Sills. Yeah, but what do you think the average crowd is for a Temple game? 20,000? You're telling me there's not 20,000 seats at Franklin Field anymore? They used to hold championship games there. I can't think you get 30,000 fans a game for that Temple thing. A small stadium's not a bad deal, dude, when it's filled. Okay? That's not awful. Plus, if you came to my house, I'm awake or you, if you came to my house and you and I, my only options were to go to like Temple, Delaware State, Pace, Iona, and stuff like that, and you said, hey, come play at Temple. Where do you play your college ball? What's your home stadium? Franklin Field. Then you look up Franklin Field, where it is and what it is. I'd be like, man, that's pretty cool. It's like playing at Wrigley Field. Franklin Field is the most historic field that's left in Philadelphia right now. Lincoln Financial is not a historical football stadium. Your baseball park's not. Your basketball arena is not. Your hockey arena is not. Franklin Field is the most historical stadium in the city of Philadelphia. There's nothing more. That thing, I participated in the Penn relays in that thing. So it means a lot to me. I got a medal from being in the Penn relays for the shot put. And that stadium is historic. Okay? Franklin is historic. It's your last sports historic stadium that you have left. That's where Bednarik was over Gifford after he knocked him out. I mean, saw my first Eagle game at Franklin Field, Rams and Eagles. Damn, Chuck. That must have been, I'm a sucker for that shit. I am. I won't lie, I'm a sucker for that shit. My first time going to Lambeau, my uncle had played up there, bunch of championship games at Lambeau. And you take the tour and you see the coils at Lombardi put underneath Lambeau. Or you go to Soldier Field and you play on that stadium and you play there. Old Sombrero, the Buccaneers, was awesome. Playing at Michigan was a great one. When I was in the World League, I played at the Horseshoe. I played at Legion Field. I played at the LA Coliseum. I played at the Oakland Coliseum. I played at the Orange Bowl, obviously. And I was always a sucker for those things. I love walking into stadiums like that, knowing the history that I think there was like 7 or 8 Super Bowls that were played at the Orange Bowl where we played. And the Dolphins were undefeated there. I saw the Monday night game when Marino upset the Bears. We had just beaten Florida State. We had just beaten Florida State the day earlier, 2 days earlier, because we beat them on a Saturday. And then we went on a Monday night, and Don Shula invited us all to the sidelines. And I think this was 85, right? Does that sound right? 85. I watched the Dolphins and Marino upset the Bears on Monday Night Football. We're all standing on the sidelines with the old legendary Dolphin guys. It was a pretty cool night. Marino went psychotic that night. It was great. I played at the Vet. Hey, Ray, you want to hear the story? Big Sills at the Penn relays. Dude, so I get there, and my dear friend, what's his daughter's name? Carter. She just won the Olympic gold medal. I had her on my radio show, and Carter was absolutely one of the greatest nose guards of all time. And I love him to death. We're friends to this day. We talk a lot. And he is just an absolutely unbelievable, great football player. So, Ray, I'm at the Penn relays. I throw the shot 60 feet. I'm like, shit. This is great. Carter gets his shot. He throws it 61 feet. I go over and pick mine up. My shot's a 12-pounder. His is a 16. I dropped the shot. I just dropped the shot. I just was like, I dropped the shot put. I was like, this guy just threw a 16-pound shot. And it's a high school. You have to throw a 12. And he threw it 61.5 or something. And I was like, holy shit. He ends up throwing it 75 something. He had the record for a long time, 80 feet. Yeah. And we've been friends ever since, man. I think he held the national record for the shot put for a high school for 80 feet. Yeah. I almost played in that league, Chuck. The USFL, the original one, was great. I didn't know that the Stars played at Franklin Field. I thought they played at the Vet. I know that the Washington Federals played at RFK. I didn't know that they played at Franklin Field. That must have been the first year they were there. Chuck Fusina, Florida State or Penn State guy. Yeah, they played at the Vet. Okay, so probably their second year, they ended up playing at the Vet. Donald says, I went to the Vet for the first time with my dad the day McNabb broke his ankle and kept playing against the Cardinals. Hey, Donald, the thing about the Vet, which was awful, second base was elevated on the field. And you know how they had the cutouts? And they had that big, long tear in the middle of the field at the Vet. Xander, I don't know if you ever went to a game at the Vet, but they had this tear early, like in the 80s and late 80s and 90s. They had a tear. Maybe some of you remember it. There was a tear in the Vet carpet, and Brayman was too cheap to replace it. And you stumbled over it. And then second base was elevated. They didn't ground the base paths. So you could stub your toe hitting second base in the middle of the field. It was just crazy how you had to run around landmines on the field when you played at the Vet. One of the absolutely worst environments ever to play a football game, because you had to look down where you were running. And if you look down, a guy knock you out. And the Eagle guys knew it. So what they would do is they would run you across the bases. And they run plays across the bases. You're looking down, you get knocked out. Yeah. It was hard to play, man, at that place. That was a difficult place to play. That Vet turf took out Irvin's knees. Sure did. Yeah, the original turf at the Vet was like green concrete, I'll say. Yeah, that's right. Yale, that's right. The Phillies played on it, and they had those multi-use stadiums. Still, funny story. I went to the Eagles game with my dad and my uncle, but my uncle always got put in the Eagle jail. Was that in the 700 section, Kyle? Kyle, was that jail at the 700? I played at Riverfront and Three Rivers. I played at both those places too, Yale. Riverfront and Three Rivers. One in Cincinnati. I played at that one in Riverfront. And Three Rivers, I played at Three Rivers in Pittsburgh. Yeah. In college, I played Pitt at Three Rivers. And I played I played the University of Cincinnati Bearcats at Riverfront. Dirty D, Sills. What do you Dirty D? I don't know. I really don't. I didn't ask. Because I could be next. I don't know. You guys keep asking me this. I don't know. It's not my job. I really don't know. It's not my job. It's the business we're in. I tried telling you guys this. Hey, it's just what it is. Hey, I'm awake. Are you? Why? WIP and the Fanatic don't fire people, or they leave because they get better opportunities for something else? We're exclusive to that? I must have missed that one. I must have missed it. We're exclusive? Business world is cutthroat. Couldn't be more truer than you know. Okay? More than you know. We're efforting our friend, Jason Cole. Hopefully we're able to catch up with him and get his thoughts here. And I think there's a lot of free agent movement. I do. You know, we asked the question, which one of these running backs do you think really helps the team out more? Hey, Xander, Jason said he doesn't have a link. I'm sure you sent it. Okay. I know. If you could resend it. Okay. Sending. Sorry, folks. Get him on here in a second. Sales must be protected at all costs. Thank you. LJ, my friend LJ. I've never seen a guy give me more shit in my life on the air. You're a valued person here, LJ. So are you, Yale. So is everybody in here. Slagger, too. It's worse than dog eat dog. It's dogs doesn't return dog's phone call. I'm not sure what that means. Sills, could the Eagles make a trade in the draft? Trade the 22nd pick for a player? Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Then at 7, we would walk into the Spectrum and watch the Flyers kick ass. You know your old owner, Ed Schneider, used to come on my program all the time when I was on in Tampa. He loved when the Flyers would come down to Tampa and play the Lightning. There are so many Philadelphia sports fans in the Tampa area. I mean, I swear to God. Hey, Yale, you guys, I swear to you, that rule is in existence because of you, the Philadelphia sports fan. Ask anybody. Okay? Ask anybody. He's saying still nothing yet, Xander. Okay. You guys changed. You guys changed the rule. There'd be so many Flyer fans around the bottom of the base and ice, right there on the ice, that the Lightning went, we can't have this anymore. Because it would show up on Sunshine Network Live, our network that I worked for, TV network. And you'd see all these Flyer fans in their sweaters right around the ice. And so the Tampa Bay Lightning, I think the guy who owned the Pistons also owned the Lightning, and they changed that rule. And it's been Jeff Vinik kept the rule. You can't wear opposing gear at where the Lightning play. You can't wear it in the lower bowl. You guys changed that rule. Okay? You can't wear opposing gear because every time Red Wings were pretty bad too. Also, the Ranger fans would be pretty bad down there, but mostly it was Flyers. Man, when the Flyers played down in Tampa, all the Philadelphia sports fans would come out of the woodworks, and they're everywhere wearing that. By the way, that's one of my favorite sweaters. I like the Blackhawk sweater. That thing is one of the absolutely greatest sweaters of all time. Sills, when were you at DAE? It's Tampa-Delphia. I was there from 1998 until 2014. What's funny is everyone assumes that, I've been fired 100,000 times. I was there 15 years doing morning drive in Tampa. So, yeah. So I was there about 15 years on the air doing mornings. I hang out with Jay Schneider at a foreign policy research institute. What a great owner he was. He was so kind to me. He was so kind to me. That guy would come on, and so would Bobby Clark. Vinny LeCavier, St. Louis, all those guys were down there during that time when I was there. They won the first cup when I was there. Okay? Bro, the Lightning stole the cup in 2004. They played if I'm not mistaken, I think the Bruins also beat them in a game 7 down there. Sills, I live in Harbor. Oh, you live in Harbor Island. I lived in Harbor Island. More Philly fans down here than Tampa fans. And the Bucks don't run Tampa. The Lightning do. Lightning have a great fan base. My wife went to almost all the games. And it was great. I'll tell you what, man. Free agency next week. We were so glad to catch up with Jared Bell. And Jared Bell was talking about the combines. And he was saying it's more kind of like, this is the time where you're not sure what to believe. And the guy who's been covering it, and he's a dear friend of ours, and we're so proud to be able to get with all these Hall of Fame voters like Rick Gosselin, Jared Bell, and of course our friend Jason Cole. He joins us right now. How you doing, Jace?
I'm great. What's going on, man?
Jared Bell said to say hi, my friend.
Good man. Very good man.
Do you believe we are in the land of lies right now when it comes to free agency?
Yeah. I mean, it's most of it. See, the draft is the lies by the league. Free agency is the lies from the agents. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Yeah. The agents lie more now than ever, or at least more than the GMs and the coaches, because the GMs and the coaches have sort of settled on what they know they want, what they're willing to pay for. There's not as much wishing. And the other thing about it is, these players by now, and what they are. So you don't have to sit there and say, well, what's the real evaluation of this guy? How good is he? And I don't want to tell you if I think a guy is a first round pick, but everybody else thinks he's a third round pick, I ain't telling you that. Right. But everybody, once you get to free agency, a star is a star. Right. So you're not going to hide that information. The question is just whether you can afford him. And so that's why I say this is the lies are equal in total. They come from a different perspective.
Did you have a chance to watch the Jason Kelce press conference? Or
no, I did not.
Snippets of it.
Yeah, I saw a couple of snippets of it. It was great. The snippets are great. The man's he's a passionate man. I mean, look, you don't have to go too far into listening to New Heights, his podcast, to discover how passionate he is, right, about the game and what it means and all those other things, and pick up on the things that he's done over the years and how he's acted. I mean, this is a guy who, football is important to him, and it's important both as a game and how hard you play and, all the things that go with it. But it's important this is a release for him. This is a joy. This is a pleasure. So he's the same kind of guy who can go out in the parking lot in Buffalo and hang with people, before a playoff game, and jump out of a luxury suite bare-chested with a beer and act like a giant bear, and at the same time have that same kind of passion and seriousness about how he actually plays the game. So it's complete and it's genuine.
I know it's way too early, and I'm just going to kind of, from a 35,000 foot, kind of look at his career with you here a bit. I thought it was kind of telling a little bit. Even the Pro Football Hall of Fame threw out like a bat signal, Jason, where it was, hey, 2029, Jason Kelce's eligible for the Pro Football Hall of Fame. And I'm like, wow, I hadn't really seen any smoke signals out like that from a guy. Maybe I saw one for Eli, but I really didn't see. This guy's a center. We're not talking about a guy who's a quarterback or a big name wideout. He's a center, Jason. Chunky's got him on the cover of a soup can on the brand new Legend series. I mean, like you said, the New Heights podcast, this guy's got to be one of the biggest celebrity offensive linemen I've ever seen.
Yeah, he'd be way up there. I'm trying to think of anybody who matches him as a offensive lineman.
Right? Can you think of a bigger personality?
Nobody matches him for celebrity as an offensive lineman for positive reasons. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
There are some offensive linemen who got in trouble, okay, and became famous, but not just purely because of football. It didn't really work that way. I mean, yeah, Tony Baselli was a big name for a short period of time. Jonathan Ogden, obviously, but they didn't stoke the fire by also doing media constantly. I mean, Baselli's does media as a commentator, but he's not a host of a show at any time. So yeah, Kelce's different. Is he a Hall of Famer? Yeah, he probably is. I hate to do it when you don't know who the finalists are and you don't know the other people that he's going against. I centers, as first
not
ballot,
many.
First ballot. Stevenson took forever, right? And now he had a short career, but he took forever, and that's about as good as it gets, right? Kevin Mawai, who I would compare Kelce very favorably to Kevin Mawai, but Mawai had to wait a little while. Now maybe Kelce's different, and he gets in because he's Kelce and all this other, which is fine. Like I'm not gonna sit here and cry about that, because again, I don't know who the other finalists are gonna be. But like the last couple of years, we've had a crowded group of guys who were qualified, and all of a sudden you get 5, 6, 7 guys who are, Torrey Holt types and Andre Johnson types and Patrick Willis types, and the room gets pretty crowded pretty fast.
You know what, Jace? It's actually something I hadn't thought about. Has there ever been a first ballot center Hall of Famer, including Webster, including DeMarty Dawson, including Dwight Stevenson? Bednarik is more, in my opinion, even though he's a two-way player, he's a linebacker.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm trying to think, has there ever been a first ballot guy? Jim Langer from the Dolphins wasn't a first ballot. I know that.
I don't believe so. Dawson is the guy I would check. It was definitely not Stevenson, and Webster. I don't think it was Webster either. But you can check. I mean, your producer can probably check fairly quickly. But the one I would think is closest is Dawson. Mawai. I know Mawai was not a first ballot guy.
Ringo wasn't either. I mean,
yeah,
there's just, I don't think there's ever been a first ballot Hall of Fame. Hey, Jim Otto, you think Jim Otto was?
I just can't remember off the top.
Yeah, okay.
I'm going to look that up. It's one of those ones, like, you could tell me that Otto was, and I go, oh, yeah, that makes sense. But, or you could tell me that Dawson was, and I go, that makes sense. But centers are such that it is look, it's not the premium athletic position on an offensive line. It's probably number 3, as a matter of fact, in terms of premium athleticism. It might even be number 4, right? Like left tackle is premium number 1. Right tackle at this point is number 2. Left guard is number 3. And then you have a pretty good argument between your right guard and your center. And this is just traditional football. I'm not saying that it's absolute every single time. But
why you're not wrong, watch this. Left tackle, $25 million. Right tackle, $15 million. Left guard, $20 million. The highest paid center was Kelce at $10 million. So the money even follows your way of thinking.
Right. I mean, it's easier to find guys like that. It doesn't mean that the position's less demanding. It's just look, I know centers always have protection on both sides, right? What you're paying a center to do is to be incredibly smart. And yes, if he happens to be a premium athlete who can get down the field really quickly, the way Mawai could, okay, the way that Kelce could, the way Dermontti Dawson could basically control the center of the line as one man. Dwight Stevenson could control the center of the line.
Got hurt
as one man.
Didn't last long enough, but he got hurt, but he got in eventually.
Yeah, he got in eventually. But those are the guys who, like I can anchor that guy and he's going to clean up any mess in the middle that I'm left with where I don't have to help him all the time. There are certain guys who are just difference makers, but you're never, ever going to pay those guys because they don't have to have incredibly long arms. They don't have to be incredibly big guys. They don't have to be, they don't have to be able to run, downfield, the way that Mawai and Kelce did. If they do, it's a bonus. And that's what, that's the distinction that Kelce has.
Absolutely. I think he is also a Hall of Famer. And what people are saying here is that Langer and Otto were the only first ballots. Dawson got in on his fourth. Dawson got in on his fourth time as a finalist. And guys in here are saying that Otto and Jim Langer, the Miami Dolphin and Raider, and Otto probably also with the distinction because he was an AFL guy and one of the very first AFL guys to go in. And Langer also, too, played on those great undefeated team and won those 2 Super Bowls and 3 straight AFC titles. So, I think him and Little are the only O-linemen off that Dolphin team. And Otto played with Shell and Upshaw. Can you imagine that, Jason? For a couple of years, you had Otto, who was a Hall of Fame center. Yep. You had a left guard, and you had the left guard in Art Shell or Gene Upshaw. Then you had Art Shell playing tackle. The entire left side of the Raider O-line was Hall of Fame.
Wait a second. Didn't Bob Brown play for those guys?
Bob Brown played on the other side, too.
Right. And Bob Brown is like my favorite stories of Mean Joe Green talking about Bob Brown and Mean Joe Green hearing from Ernie Holmes, like this guy's such a pain in the ass for me to deal with. I hate, going against he's beating the crap out of me. And Joe Green goes, well, let me have him for a couple of plays. And like 2 plays into it, Joe Green's like, you can have that back. I want nothing to do with that. Like Bob Brown was all man.
I think he started his career with the Eagles.
He did. He played for the Eagles. I think he might have been with the Giants for a little while. He moved around a bit, but the first kind of prototype right tackle,
Can't hear you, Jace. Can't hear you.
Am I back?
There you go. Got you now. Go ahead.
I can't hear you at the moment.
Oh, you can't hear me. Okay.
Are you there? Can you hear me now?
I'm here. You got me?
I cannot hear you. All right, let me leave and come back.
Okay. He's going to leave and come back here. He muted himself. Very cool. Sounds like Barrett Brooks. Constantly muting himself. Bob Brown says, Sills, I used to drive around Port Charlotte and Tampa for 6 years listening to you on DAE in the drive when you were on DAE with Dumick and Chris Thomas. Dumick was a dick. I couldn't stand the guy. Chris Thomas was a gentleman. Spectacular guy. Absolutely a great guy. I love Chris Thomas. One of the absolute legendary guys, and he did a great show. And it was the three of us that built that DAE. I had 10 shares. I think Chris also had some big shares. Yeah. So really good stuff. Bring Jason back. Jason, you got us?
Yeah, I got checking here now.
Hey, think about that Raider line though. Bob Brown, Upshaw, Shell, Otto. Okay, I mean,
that's nasty. It's nasty. Think about it. It's sort of like thinking about. I think it was the 1982 or 83 USC offensive line. Right? It wasn't like Munoz, Brad Buddy.
Who was Matthews?
Roy Foster.
Matthews was on that old line. Bruce Matthews.
Yeah, Matthews. It's like, what is it? 2 Hall of Famers, perhaps the greatest left tackle of all time. But like 4 first rounders or something, something crazy. I mean,
how about this?
Mosbar might have been on that team too as a backup.
I think he was. Get this. Here's a story. Here, before we move on to some of the news in the NFL. So Munoz told me this. He got hurt his senior year, and he did not play his entire senior year until the Rose Bowl. He plays in the Rose Bowl. He dominates this Ohio State guy. He gets drafted 3rd, and he goes on not to miss a game with the Bengals for 14 years. Yep. And is arguably, in my opinion, the greatest left tackle in the history of the sport.
He's a prototype. He is the guy who you say that's what it's supposed to look like. Now there are other guys like it. Tony Baselli looked like it. Jonathan Ogden looked like it. But they all are derivative of Munoz.
Absolutely. I think this guy Trent Williams is going in too.
Oh yeah. Trent Williams. I mean, I was just talking with a 49ers coach yesterday, and it's like, what I said, you guys have to be preparing to replace him. He goes, we can't replace him. He goes, we can change things up to try and figure out how he goes, but we don't replace him. Like that, you just don't do that. It's too hard.
Jace, the guys that I would put, if I had to pick 5 guys in my lifetime, guys I covered and played, the greatest O-lineman that I've ever seen, I would pick Mike Munchak. I would take Bruce Matthews.
Yeah.
I would take Anthony Munoz. And I would also take who was the guard from the Redskins that was on that?
You're talking about Grimm?
Yeah, Grimm. I put Russ Grimm in there.
Yeah, I would say I would go with who was the guard? Why am I not thinking of Larry Allen?
Oh, best I've seen. He's probably the best offensive guard in pro football history.
Him or John Hanna?
Yeah.
Him. Then I would go at left tackle Ogden, and that's a hair over Baselli. If you're just talking about pure left tackles, this is sort of cheating, but it would be Hutchinson, because Hutchinson and Allen are the same guy. Are same side. If I'm going with a right tackle, it's going to be Willie Anderson. And Eric Williams is up there too. Eric Williams is as mean and nasty as it gets. But Willie Anderson is closer to being a Hall of Famer. His longevity is better. Another guard.
Bruce Matthews. He played all 5
positions. Matthews would be the other guy. Matthews would be the other guy. The center is I didn't see Stevenson play. I wasn't focused on the NFL at that time. So I would say Dawson would be my center. So
let me get into this. Do you believe that there'll be a strong market for Russell Wilson right now? And Jace, before you answer, here's the one thing that really is enticing to some of these teams. Denver has to pick up $39 million.
Uh-huh.
he can sign a league minimum of $1.3 million. And that will be appropriate. That'll go over to the Denver money, which comes down to around 37.5 that Denver's still on the hook for.
Yeah.
So if you're one of these teams, you're going to get a player with 26 touchdowns and 8 picks at a league minimum deal. And I'm sure he's better than anything you have in your room in Pittsburgh or New York. And those are the first 2 teams that have come to the plate and he's had conversations with. And I think that's going to expand. I'm not saying he's Russell Wilson of a couple of years ago, but for a football team that could get a guy on the cheap and that could upgrade your position, like say if you're Tampa and Mayfield leaves. I mean, I don't know about you. They just signed Mike Evans to that 2-year contract. I might want to have an experienced guy. Do you think he'll be that attractable to some teams out there because of the money?
The thing about the money is obvious, yes. There's no question. He's attractive because it doesn't cost you anything. But to me, and I said this to somebody else who asked me, like a Steelers fan who asked me, should they take a swing with Russell Wilson? I said, depends on how the interview sounds. If Russell Wilson realizes where things went wrong in Denver and how he was every bit the problem there, and how he's going to change this and this and this, and going to get more serious about his work. And I'm not saying he wasn't serious, and I'm not saying he didn't work hard. But
Jace, let me stop you. Yesterday, Warren Moon said that he thought that Russell Wilson needed to be a better teammate.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Like Russell fell into the trap of thinking that he's like his wife. Okay. And there's a huge difference between a star who's an entertainer and a star who is an athlete who plays in a team sport. They have very different responsibilities. They have very different views of themselves. They have very different ways that they conduct their business, because there are more people looking at you than just fans when you're a team, when you play in a team sport. There are more people that you have to please. And Russell, I think, forgot that. And I don't know, and I'm not blaming anybody. He's the first guy to fall into that trap, right?
I heard he's really weird, and I heard he's really stiff, and he really doesn't have the greatest personality on the planet. Does that sound right? Because I heard that it's not that he's an awful guy. He's just really kind of quirky, and he's kind of like a librarian or something. He's like one of those kind of guys. It's not a gigantic personality type guy. And like you said, it came off from what I heard some of the guys in Seattle saying. He tried to be like his wife, like you're saying, trying to be like open, a character. And that's just kind of not who he really was. And they never thought he was genuine in Denver.
No, they're not. The people in Seattle didn't think he was genuine.
Yeah, corny is the word.
Yeah, corny is the sort of slang term that's especially thrown around by guys, especially black guys from the inner city or from an impoverished area refer to him as corny. They like to throw out that term. And that's fine. With the times I've talked to him, he's just like you're listening to it's like listening to somebody doing a Dianetics commercial, right? Right?
Like an infomercial?
Yeah, it's like, here, this is what I'm going to say, because this is, what you should say about your teammates and this and that and da da da. It's like, dude, can you just be real for a minute? Can you just let out exactly how you feel and what you're thinking? Don't be corny. Don't be trite. Don't be trying. It's like he works so hard to say the right thing instead of every once in a while. And this is what I appreciate about Aaron Rodgers. Drives me crazy, right? The time, but Aaron Rodgers is being Aaron Rodgers, almost all the time. He is being true to himself. Whether you like the person he's being true to,
it's genuine.
He's genuine about what he wants and what he's saying. He's pretty much putting himself out there. Peyton Manning is pretty much that way too, right? And he'll let you have it with with a one-liner here and there and be, sarcastic. Dan Marino, you always know who Dan Marino was, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, and he just this is who I am, like me or not.
Same with Elway.
Right. I don't care, right? Russell Wilson is just trying so hard to craft a personality that's perfect. And it's like, dude, nobody's perfect. Just go deal with it. And if you don't like what the critics say about you, tell the critics to go shove it.
You know who he reminds me of now that you've put it this way? A-Rod.
Oh,
he's got that A-Rod where A-Rod wants everyone to love him. And you know what? Like you just said, I don't give a shit if you like me or not. This is who I am. And that is one of the things that I think teammates do like about Rodgers is that Rodgers is like him or hate him. Okay, the one thing you'll always do with Rodgers, hey, I may hate the guy, but he's going to throw 44 touchdowns and 4 picks and put us around the rim.
It's the charm of Charles Barkley.
Yeah.
Right? Like the charm of Charles Barkley is, here I am. Here's all my warts. Here's the whole thing. Have at me. I don't care. Okay? I'm going to say what I want to say. I'm going to do what I want to do. I don't care what you think. Right? And I have not liked every single thing in the world that Charles Barkley has said, right? But I love to watch him because I know I'm getting a completely and totally honest view of what he thinks. And that's all I want to hear. Like, I want to hear what you really, truly think, whether I agree or don't. With Russell Wilson, it's like, it's just so vanilla and so sugary.
Exhausting.
It really is. And it's like, dude, just go play, man.
Absolutely.
Just go play.
Do you believe that there'll be any kind of market for Carson Wentz, or have we seen the end of it?
There's a market for backup quarterbacks out there.
So he's in the land of backups now.
Well, where else would he be?
Okay.
I mean, nobody was knocking the door down last year, were they?
Nope. But I think he had to go through a transition of going and understanding that, like Carmelo Anthony had to realize he was going to be the sixth man off the bench. Sometimes that's a tough thing to tell a former $38 million quarterback who's still a young guy. You ain't the guy anymore, kid.
Right. You want to be back in, you better work at it. You got to turn this stuff around. And he may never do it and all those other things. But yeah, like I'm not catering to you and your demands anymore. Like, we're done with all that. Either, you want to sign this deal and get yourself back in the league and play for a team, go for it. You don't. And that's a hard lesson for most guys.
But for me, Jace, today's NFL is different than it was 15 years, 20 years ago, because we saw Tannehill, a reclamation project. People thought Jared Goff was going to Detroit as a stopgap guy after the whole Stafford deal. Now they're working on a contract extension for this guy. I mean, we've seen guys go places and turn their careers back into productive, like at Mayfield down in Tampa.
There's lots of guys like that throughout the history of the league. It happens more so because we're so desperate to find quarterbacks, period. Right? So, yeah, you're going to have more opportunities for that. But, look, there's been the Jim Plunkett's of the world. Guys had to
That's right.
There are plenty of guys who had to hit rock bottom.
Hostettlers.
Yeah, you just got to bottom out at some point, and then you're going to get your shot if you really work at it. The Rich Gannons, the Brad Johnsons of the world. There are lots of guys like that. And so, so Carson Wentz isn't unique from that perspective. He's only unique in that I don't think he gets it either. Like, I don't think he got it until this year. I don't think he understood. Look, dude, there's going to be a league with or without you. It's like, yeah, my ex-wife, she worked at Publix for forever, right? And she was very diligent about make sure you go to work every day, get on time. And she was nervous about it. And I was like, look, it's great. I admire your work ethic. I love you for it. That's a fantastic thing. But do remember, they're going to open the store whether you show up or not. And they're going to sell all those groceries whether you show up or not. They're just going to, like the store does not begin and end when you walk in the door.
One rule you'll always learn. If Tom Brady, the league's ratings can go up without Tom Brady, who are you?
Yeah, like you just, hey, look, man, let's move on. The machine moves on, man.
Absolutely. Am I right to say that Kirk Cousins is going to have a 4 at the beginning of his number?
I told you that.
You're such an ass. You're right. You were. I was.
I told you
not
that.
A chance. I go. There's not a chance this guy gets $45 million.
It might be a 5.
5.
It might be a 5.
No. Oh my God.
It might.
So you could see Atlanta or even Minnesota coming back with the 5.
Starting at a 50 million could happen. Now, I don't think it's going to happen. I don't think it's going to get that crazy.
You think it's 45?
I think it's 40 to 45. Find them. Find quarterbacks. Find them.
$45 million for him.
Just think about it if it's $40 million.
So if you're paying $45 million for Kirk Cousins, then Jerry's paying 60 for Dak.
Not 60, but probably 52, 53.
You don't think they'll pay him more than Burrow? 55.
No, he's not worth it. I don't think he can. I don't think he can justify it.
2-5 in the postseason.
What?
2-5 in the postseason.
I mean, look, I think he's a terrific player, and he's worth $50 million a year. But there's a stopping point. Now,
could you see the 49ers?
All of this is dependent. A lot of this is dependent on somebody may. Like the job of the agent is to find out, will somebody pay more than that a year from now? Right? And the question is, okay, the Dallas does that, but what happens when you do the franchise tag? Right?
Yeah.
So, there's some gamesmanship out there. I can't see a world in which I'm paying Dak Prescott more than $55 million a year. Because I think there's a reasonable argument to come back to him going, dude, number one, don't do that to the team because we need to help. We need to help you out. But number two, don't do that to yourself. It's already pressure enough being the quarterback of the Dallas Cowboys. You already get too much blame. If we make you the highest paid quarterback in the entire NFL, you know what people are gonna the amount of more pressure.
Constant ripping.
Yeah, like here, do a deal. We'll guarantee a lot of the money. We'll take care of the guarantee on it. Keep the number as the number 2 or 3 guy for your own sake. Now, I don't. If I was an agent, I think sometimes agents get carried away with I've got to be number one. I got to get my client number one. And I don't blame them for that. But sometimes they don't think about the larger scale. I remember having this discussion one time with Jimmy Sexton when Tim Tebow came out, and I said, Jimmy, don't make him a first round. Don't try and get him in the first round. You want him taken in the second or third round. And he looked at me like I was crazy. He goes, well, we got to get the money, and I go, no, you're looking at this all wrong. That kid needs time to sit and fix what's wrong with him. And if he's a first round pick, whether it's number 1 or number 32, it's still first round pick. The expectation is you're going to come in, you're going to play right away. I said, you want breathing room for that kid to get time on the bench to change what's wrong with his mechanics. And then Sexton was like, "Oh, we've already changed the mechanics in the offseason." I'm like, "You're so full of it. Like, you don't change a guy's mechanics, in 4 months of offseason drills. It just doesn't happen." And what happens is he goes in the first round. The kid plays, earlier than he should. Yeah, they win some games and they do some crazy stuff, but that he can't play. He never really gets a chance to work on his game. So it all goes sideways a lot faster than it really should have.
Here's my last question to you. It's kind of more what's going on. I happen to know the Spanos family very well.
Uh-huh.
And to your guy, who's the ultimate ball breaker in the history of ball breaking head coach,
Jimmy Harbs, baby.
Jim Harbaugh is now throwing it around the room that they're going to make a sign and a play for Chris Jones of the Chiefs to bring him in and put him in the middle, weaken the Chiefs, strengthen the Chargers, and he's going to make it personal like he did everywhere he goes.
Oh, yeah.
He got in almost to a fist fight with Jim Schwartz in Detroit. He almost got into a fist fight with Pete Carroll, SC in Stanford. He's going to make this thing. He's going to make this personal between him and the Chiefs. This is how he's going to battle them.
I loved what he did to Pete Carroll. I loved it.
SC was favored by 43.
Or whatever it was. Yeah, we lost by almost nothing. I mean,
and beat them.
Yeah, I mean, yes, and then trounced them again. The following years. Like my favorite thing, Jim Harbaugh saying, "We're Stanford. We bow to no one." Like, I told Troy Taylor, I said, that's the greatest thing any football coach has ever said at this university. I said, "Go quote is the greatest thing that anybody here," because he wasn't speaking to people outside the organization much as he was speaking to the people within the campus who just, we don't bow to anybody. Take football seriously. Be good at it. Be tough. We don't bow down to anybody. That's so Harbaugh. Now, all of that said, Chris Jones is a great player. I love him. I get a Warren Sapp feeling from him.
Well, he's 29, and his number would be 32-9 for a 29-year-old D tackle who's probably the best interior tackle. Right now,
but you know what I'm saying. Like when Warren got paid by the Raiders,
it was there was 2 steps back, not 1 step back.
He cashed. He cashed out.
He played guess what? Warren played on the Monday night and Thursday night games, and the rest of the games were
Warren didn't put out when he was with the Raiders and got sloppy and the whole, and which always annoys me because he ended up being a first ballot guy, but he was so good. He was so good at the beginning of his career. Let's not quibble about it. He's a first ballot guy. I always hated what Warren did to Mike Strahan when he got in. And when Warren talked trash to Strahan, because they were up in the same year, and Strahan didn't get in and Sapp did, and Sapp used that moment to trash Strahan, and I'm like, dude, don't do that. That's classless.
He's not the most likable guy.
No, he's not. And it's just like, that's not the moment. You celebrate your own. You want to talk trash about yourself and you want about how good you were, go ahead. You want to say that you're the greatest defensive tackle of all time, go ahead. I don't care. Like that. But don't use that to rub it in somebody else's face. It's completely, totally classless. And I know he's a Cane, and I know, but you're being honest about it.
But I'm not gonna go
You can't. I know you can't really go out there against the cane, but you got.
I've been asked not to, like.
Yeah, I know. I get it.
I mean, let's just say this: I've never really run into a person that said they had a really great experience meeting him.
And I'm in that line. When you stick your hand out to a guy and he looks at you as if you're a cockroach, like, I'm sorry, enough. Like, if you want to, like,
believe you guys first balloted him because and get this. No, I can, because you saw his play, but
that's all.
Let me just say this: the Hall of Fame is not the Hall of Fame of good dudes.
I'll be honest with you. Like Saps, that was my first year voting. That had a very strong effect on how I viewed voting for TO. Like, I'm not here to just reward guys. If it's questionable, I'll go to somebody else. If it's questionable. If it's not questionable, like, there's just no fight about it. Like, there's certain guys, like I was never going to hold Ray Lewis's crime against him. Okay. Cause it's off the field, and as serious as it was, Ray Lewis was too great a football player.
And he was vindicated. He may not have been vindicated in the court of public opinion. And you're right, because he put himself in that position. Yeah. But legally, Jace, you had to look at it.
He served time. Okay, so let's not argue about Ray Lewis, because ultimately, did he do something wrong? Yes. What exactly did he do wrong? I have no exact.
Why are you picking on all these Canes guys? What is this with you?
Well,
wait. You and your Stanford guys.
No, don't do that. Don't do that. Don't do that. You know what you're talking about.
I don't know what you're saying.
I don't know what you're saying. Hey, this is my guy, man.
That's why he's written this book, okay? That's what I'm saying. Look at it. I got it right here, always with me here.
I love
Holy cow. Jace, thank you so much, my friend. It should be an interesting week next week.
Absolutely.
Free agency starts. Tampering starts on Monday, or the secret tampering starts on Monday.
Tampering is already done. That stuff's already done with.
Dude, it started at the combines. Hey, I'll talk to you next week.
It started at the Senior Bowl. I'll talk to you later.
Thank you, Jace. Appreciate it. That's my good friend, Jason Cole. Please hit the like button. Keep it here, National Football Show.
Imagine for a moment that you went to work today, and when you came home, you were catastrophically injured. Your life and your family's life. That's what happened to union construction worker Mike Little.
I was scared of what the end was going to be, but to be 100% honest with you, I knew I was going to be all right just by talking with Brian. In my heart, I just knew everything was going to be all right.
Call the firm and find out why they say, "We got this." Call 215-458-2222.
Field of life, First Trust Bank is there for you.
Champions on 3. 1, 2, 3.
Because Philadelphia dreams deserve a Philadelphia bank.
Underdog Fantasy is the easiest place to play fantasy sports, and certainly the easiest when you're watching the NBA. And the NBA playoffs are almost here, and you can win money making picks. What are you waiting for? Sign up on UnderdogFantasy.com and use the promo code WIN. An Underdog will double your first deposit up to $100. That's UnderdogFantasy.com. Use the promo code WIN. Get ready for the NBA and get ready for the NBA playoffs. Go to UnderdogFantasy.com. Use the promo code WIN.
Hi everybody, my name's Jason Lombardi. I'm an inspector at DryTech. At DryTech we offer three major services, the first one being basement waterproofing. The second service we offer is foundation and structural repairs. And then the third service that we offer is mold remediation. If you feel you are having a waterproofing issue, give DryTech a call or check us out online.
Do you stream on a Roku, Fire Stick, Google TV, or Apple TV? Now you can watch 6ABC 24/7 with the 6ABC Philadelphia streaming app.
For the big story on Action News,
Search 6ABC Philadelphia and start streaming today.
EAGLES. Eagles.
Seth Joyner to the Hall of Fame. How are you getting him in? With who? Paul Dumbowitz? Hey, Seth, this is just in. Don't say anything about your politics or your sexual preference or what have you. Be held against you in the court of Dumbowitz. You want to take shots at Big Sills? Okay. I don't give a shit what show he goes on. Call me a piece of shit and I've never met you? Hey, Dumbowitz, try getting Eric Allen in and maybe we could talk about Seth Joyner having a legitimate opportunity at talking to some of these Hall of Fame guys. Don't you think there's a reason why I get Hall of Fame voters on here? I just don't get normal reporters on. I get people that actually vote for the Pro Football Hall of Fame. Okay? You think I'm just going to put some sort of .com guy on? That ain't working for me. Shit, the only guy that has earned that kind of status with Big Sills is Philly 500. He's the only guy that's earned that. The rest of them, if you ain't more famous than Big Sills, you ain't going on. That ain't happening. Then again, I never heard of Paul Dumbowitz until I started talking sports in Philly. Probably why I didn't see Eric Allen in the Pro Football Hall of Fame. Guy's a legitimate tool. Okay? That's right, Matt. Hey, Matt, if you're not a great guest or a big name, more Big Sills is all good with me. Okay? All good with me. Hey, how about this comment by Zach Ertz? Did you guys read this comment by Zach Ertz? Listen to this. Zach Ertz was asked the question, why did he choose Washington? Why did he want to play in Washington? By the way, the legendary Philly Godfather will join us at 5:30. Yes, sir. Eric Allen should have been put instead of Patrick Willis. Shit, Patrick Willis is a Hall of Famer and Seth Joyner isn't? You got to be kidding me. Guess as a new listener, I have some catching up on beefs on this show. Gregorio, I don't have a beef with anybody. It's not beef. Somebody who's never met me called me a piece of shit on one of my friend's shows here on our network. It's all right. Nothing personal. For me, for him it is. But since he's an asshole, what we'll do is, and you're not presenting Eric Allen correctly, I'm going to call you out on what you don't do instead of making it personal with me. Okay? I can't believe Ertz. Disgusting. Well, wait a minute here. Okay? Well, wait a minute here. Wait a minute. This is what Zach Ertz said. Okay? I went to Washington because of Cliff Kingsbury. What an absolutely sensational coach. Cliff Kingsbury is why he went to Washington. So now they signed Zach Ertz. They stole Cliff Kingsbury away from the Eagles. Because personally, I think they coveted Cliff Kingsbury and not Kellen Moore to be the OC for Jalen Hurts. But Cliff wanted a little bit more power. That's how I'm reading this. Is that Cliff was the target that they wanted for Hurts to be the offensive coordinator. Am I wrong? And Kellen Moore is the second place finisher. Am I wrong? Zach Ertz. Man, what a great coach. I went to Washington because of him. He turns down the Eagles because the Eagles didn't want to give him what he wanted. Shit, he turned down the Raiders too. Zach Ertz, a Washington Commander, baby. How you doing? Holy cow. Now, ladies and gentlemen. Fresh back from Paris. Okay. As he walked through the Arc de Triomphe with his bag of money and all the things that led to a fabulous season. Now he's going into a college basketball season, which, by the way, has to be the second greatest tournament that you can have when it comes to making dough, is the NCAA tournament, March Madness. He is, as advertised, Mr. Moneybags, the Philly Godfather. All hail. How you doing, brother?
Good, man. I went to the Louvre Museum over there. I tried to buy the Mona Lisa. They didn't let me. I'm like, what's going on here? You know what I mean?
Just remember, man, the true Mona Lisa, it's okay. Remember, I from what I understand, I think Brando had it in that movie. You know, I mean, The Freshman. So I don't know. I think the phony one is there. And I think Carmine Sabatini has it in his house in Jersey somewhere. Hey, man, I have to ask you right out of the gate. Jason Kelce's retirement speech, really, really an iconic moment, I think, in Philadelphia. In a week that they needed to really get some good news, what was your takeaway from it?
I mean, the guy's authentic. He's genuine. He's grateful. They're going to make a movie about his life. I mean, he was a walk-on at Cincinnati as a linebacker, right? Played 1 year as an offensive lineman there. Was drafted in the 6th round. Played 13 years with the same team that no one does that anymore. During the Chip Kelly era, I think they were going to think about getting rid of him after they got rid of Chip Kelly. And he comes back. He helps the Eagles win a Super Bowl. And he puts them on the map. And it's hard to replace a movie star like Jason Kelce. And that's a big problem for the Eagles moving forward. And it's reflected in their odds this year to win the Super Bowl. They're behind the Cowboys to win the NFC East. They're 5th to win the NFC Conference. That's huge. It's tough to replace a guy like that, man.
They got $50 million in cap space money potentially. You think they'll be big players week 1, 2, or 3?
They have to be. I mean, the 26th ranked defense, 31st or 32nd against the pass. They're gonna have to go out and get some defensive players, find a center, move some guys around on that offensive line. And it takes a while to get cohesive, like you've told me about the offensive line. That doesn't happen overnight. And he's the quarterback of the offensive line, the second most important person on the football field next to the quarterback because he touches the ball in every possession. They're going to have to spend some money. They're going to have to draft well. They're going to have to cross their fingers.
I'm going to do something with you that I did with Angelo Cataldi the other day. Big Sills made his Eagle Bold predictions and his NFL 2024 early bold predictions. And I want to get your spin on them. So I say this. This is Eagle Bold prediction number 1. I think the Eagles draft a quarterback in the 3rd or 4th round because here, Howie hedges his bets. And on top of that, they've done it before. They drafted Hurts. They drafted Jalen Hurts when they had just given Carson Wentz that $38 million deal. So, I mean, you think that's a good play or a bad play for the Eagles to draft a quarterback in this upcoming NFL draft? And by the way, Philly Godfather, I think every general manager should draft a quarterback in a draft if they have multiple picks, because you never know when you land on Brady.
That's true. And as we witnessed this season, the Eagles were stacked offensively. Jalen Hurts struggled, turned the ball over, I think, more than any quarterback in the league when it comes to running the ball and passing the ball. He had one really good MVP year, but you look at the rest of the time he's been here, mediocre at best. Yeah, it's a great idea. Why wouldn't you? You never know what happens. He could get banged up. He didn't look 100% healthy last season. I would definitely do that. It's a great move.
How about this? It's cheaper, and you draft a guy that resembles his skill set so that if you have to play him, you're not talking about Tanner McKee who couldn't jump over a stack of dimes. I mean, you want to get somebody in there that kind of looks like the kid.
Yeah, kid that can run the ball, dual threat, use his legs, use his arm. He needs to have a big arm, though, man. I'm tired of these guys, who can run the ball, but their arm's a little weak. And then again, he's got to have that prolific quarterback mentality. I mean, as much as I love Lamar Jackson, and he was the MVP last season, you saw what happened when he played a pretty good defense in the playoffs, and what happens year after year in the playoffs with guys like Lamar Jackson at quarterback. I mean, they shut them down. The field shrinks. It gets tougher to do what they do during the regular season. And all those numbers they put up during the regular season, it doesn't work in the playoffs.
The Eagles bring back C.J. Gardner-Johnson to play in the secondary. Now, follow this one with me. He missed almost the entire year. He got healthy for the postseason. He's not going to be $6 to $8 million. And you get a guy who 2 years ago led the NFL in interceptions, and he's still 25, and he's cheaper. Would you make that play?
Yeah, I would. He had, 6 out of the 16 interceptions the Eagles had from 2 years ago. Kid can still play. He was a little banged up. Now you got to evaluate him and see exactly, what's going on with him. But, yeah, I would bring him back. The kid can play, man, and they definitely need some help. Like I said, one of the worst teams in pass defense. We saw it on the field last year. Just they fell apart. Safety out of Denver, they're talking about him. Fangio knows all about that kid. Simmons, right? Might be a good pickup. But they got to do something. They got to do it fast because they can't go into this season again with that defense, playing the way they played last year.
Absolutely. All right. Jalen Carter will have double-digit sacks this coming season.
I don't know. I don't think so. I mean, they're going to miss a couple guys on that defensive line. It's going to get harder for him to depending what the number is, I'd probably go under on his sacks.
Devontae Smith will have more receiving yards than A.J. Brown this coming year.
Depends where A.J. Brown's at.
Now, wait a minute here. Because you have insight. And by the way, I have to be careful here because
they're going to ban us, Dan. They're going to ban us again.
Do you believe that A.J. Brown wants to stay in Philly?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, he's expressed that. He loves the city, he loves the fans. Wasn't a big fan of the coaching staff last season, but they've upgraded. Kellen Moore, you got Fangio, Sirianni's still here, but hopefully the other guys can, carry the weight. And he just does what Jeffrey Lurie tells him, and they get the job done.
Nick Sirianni's fired by week 14. Over under.
Man, that's close. Are they going to fire him during I can't.
Wait a minute. No. They fired Chip.
Yeah. I don't know. Week 14.
Because follow me.
They're still stacked.
Got Kellen, who they interviewed 2 years ago for the head coaching job, and they may want to give that job to him.
Yeah, but they got so much talent on this team. It's all on the offense, and the defensive line was strong, but you're going to lose some talent on the defensive line. If they can fill in a couple spots, safety, corner, they'll be right back in the mix. Just the offensive line kind of scares me a little bit, but I think he hangs around another year.
At the end of the year, after Pinocchio Sirianni's fired, the new head football coach on Tuesday after Black Monday, when all the coaches are fired, will be William Belichick, head coach, Philadelphia Eagles. Over under.
Nah, he's not. I can't see Belichick coming here, man. I can't see him.
Why not, man? That means Howie's fired.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, plus, do you really? I mean, you know, he's getting up there in age. You know, how many coaches at that age have accomplished, you know, winning a Super Bowl?
Now we get to NFL bowl predictions. I have, and you tell me, over under on this one. I got the Bengals leading the NFL in total offense and winning the Super Bowl.
You can grab 13-1 on him if you like him that much. So if you bet $100, you bring back 1,300. As long as he's healthy, Joe Burrow's the man. Yeah, it's Patrick Mahomes and Joe Burrow. And if Joe Burrow was on the Chiefs, they wouldn't have lost the Super Bowl. That's how good that kid is. You know, give him that offensive line, give him that type of defense, give him those coaches, Spags, Andy Reid. As long as he's healthy, the Bengals can beat anybody.
I love Joe Namath Burrow. I really do. I think he's great. But I think he has that Namath gene in him where if he's not healthy, that team stinks. But if he's out there, they can win against anybody. And he's beaten Mahomes numerous times.
Yeah, he's the only active player to beat him in the playoffs, I think. Active quarterback. So if anyone can do it, it's going to be him. Watch out for the Packers. And you might see the Packers and the Bengals in the Super Bowl next year. Two teams that, you know, Packers, you look out, they got stronger and stronger down the end of the season. And people forget they were really banged up early in the year, missing some offensive linemen, missing some key players. But when they got healthy, I mean, it took a miracle for the 49ers to beat them, you know? So that's how good the Packers are.
I have the Bills' Josh Allen winning the 2024 NFL Most Valuable Player.
Yeah, I could see that. I mean, kid's a monster. I'm just, you know, I'm not big on their coach. I've said this earlier.
Sean McDermott.
Yeah, I'm not big on their coach. I think he holds that kid back. And the window's getting, you know, it's shrinking. I mean, you got one of the best quarterbacks in the NFL. Another guy, if you put him on the Chiefs, he wins all those Super Bowls. Like, you know, I'm not big on their coach, but yeah, he could be MVP, definitely, man. And they're spending some money already, the Bills.
They're dumping money to spend it.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, so.
I have the Chargers making the divisional round of the playoffs.
I could see that happening. New system, though. New head coach. I think they get stronger as the season progresses. You know, first couple of weeks going to be a little off. But then once they get into that groove, man, that's going to be a very dangerous team.
What odds would you give me on this one? Carolina Bryce Young has a bounce-back year in 2024.
No, don't bet it.
You're staying away from that one, huh?
Don't bet it. Right now, you know what their season win total set at? 4.5 wins. Don't bet it.
You're not buying the new guy in there, Canales or whatever. You're not buying any of that.
I'm not even buying Bryce Young. I mean, you know, they could have had CJ. They messed up, man.
The Cowboys will extend Dak and make him the highest paid NFL quarterback in the league by the end of the summer.
I wouldn't do it, but Jerry Jones, he'll do it. What's he care? He's got all the money in the world. I wouldn't do it. The guy's a choke artist, like I said before. You know, he beat up on some bad teams this year, padded his numbers every time they played inferior teams. When he played the better teams, he choked, didn't show up, stepped out of bounds against the Eagles and Philly. You know, the brain cramps that he has in big moments. You know, he's a good quarterback, but he's not Joe Burrow. He's not Patrick Mahomes. He's not even Jalen Hurts. I mean, he's a more talented thrower, but he's a choke artist. Jalen Hurts isn't a choke artist. He's just not he doesn't have the physical ability that Dak has throwing the ball.
This is going to be a wild one here for you. I got the 49ers signing Kirk Cousins.
That'd be nice. I like Kirk.
18 touchdowns. Get this last year. 18 touchdowns, 5 picks in 6 games.
Yeah, because Purdy, Purdy's been known he's gotten hurt a couple times, but Purdy showed a lot of heart in the playoffs, man.
Wouldn't you rather have Cousins than Purdy, though?
He's getting up there in age.
Yep, he is.
I don't know. Purdy, as a 49er, one of the best winning percentages of all time of any quarterback. Like, the kid can play in that system. And in the Super Bowl, he played lights out. If Greenlaw doesn't get hurt on the sideline, the 49ers won the Super Bowl. You saw what happened in the second half. Kelce went out there and destroyed him. First half, they shut him down. I mean, that kid can play. He can play as a 49er. Now, I don't know if he goes somewhere else, but as a 49er, he looks great to me.
By the way, Russell Wilson, I didn't put this on here, but Russell Wilson, here's the thing and why I would sign him. Denver's picking up the next 2 years. It's 2 years they're picking up, the $39 million this year and $37 next year. So if Pittsburgh or Atlanta or Chicago or New York, he's talking to the Giants, if they sign him, do you know that he could sign for a league minimum of $1.3 million?
Wow.
And you get him at the league minimum, a quarterback who had 26 touchdowns and 8 picks, had a higher completion percentage than the MVP this year and a better quarterback rating than him. And I know his volume of passes weren't high, and it's not like he's Russell Wilson back in the day. That's not awful, and he's better than anything in those cities that they currently have right now. Would you make a play for him?
Yeah, and he played better than Jalen Hurts last year. But
he did.
Yeah, I would make that's cheap. And you're stealing money. You're stealing. I would do it in a heartbeat.
The New York Giants.
So bad.
What do you think the odds on this one? I got them drafting J.J. McCarthy.
I like JJ. Yeah, I would draft him. I like JJ.
What do you do with Dimes Jones? Is he working with the pizza guy?
Is he with Tommy DeVito? Who was the manager? I took pictures with that out at Radio Row. That guy was cool. I forget his name.
Oh, wait, his agent, the guy in the leprechaun suit.
Yeah, he's funny. Nice guy. I don't know. You're stuck with Danny Dimes. I mean, he's not, obviously he's not the guy. And they're talking about Barkley trying to come to Philly. And then Tiki Barber opens his mouth.
Taking shots at Spike Eskin.
What's Tiki Barber doing? Don't come to Philly. You'll insult the history of the Giants. What are you talking about?
Mr. Godfather, let me just, as a guy who knows that organization, Tiki Barber is by far one of the most hated New York Giants of all time by Giant fans. And by NFL fans. How about this? Why didn't any team sign him when he wanted to come back to the league? You know why? Nobody likes him. Yeah. He is the most hated Giant. And there's no coincidence they won 2 Super Bowls when he got the hell out of town.
Yeah, he always seems to say the wrong thing, too. I mean, no one wants to hear that. And Barkley, listen, if you can steal Barkley for $5-6 million, yeah, but I'm not giving that guy $10 million. I mean, you got DeAndre Swift. He can catch the ball out the backfield. They didn't use him the right way this year. So if you're not going to use the running back the right way, what's the use of spending all that money bringing in Barkley? Now, if you can steal him for $5-6 million, I would do it.
Bold prediction. Jake Paul, Mike Tyson. Who are you taking?
I think the line opened up -300. Jake Paul, it's up to -500. I love Mike. Mike trained at our boxing gym back in '96 when he fought Buster Mathis in AC. Trained with us for a week. But that's not the same Mike Tyson. I mean, he's 50.
He's 60 years old.
Yeah, I mean, people don't realize Jake Paul's a big kid. He's young. He's been boxing. Obviously, at their peaks, Mike Tyson destroys him in less than 10 seconds. But right now, I'd give the edge to Paul. I hate to say it, but one guy's 60 and the other kid's in his prime.
Do you want to hear what he's going to make, Tyson?
100?
Between $50 and $100 million for an exhibition fight. Yeah. That just tells you about branding right there. If you know what you're doing with branding, I mean, is Tyson Fury still the heavyweight champion?
Yeah.
Okay. Tyson Fury could never command a $100 million payday.
Nah. Jake Paul, listen, whatever you think of Jake Paul, he's great for boxing. He's great for the fighters. He's making everybody money. Now, is he the greatest fighter of all time? No, but he's really good for the sport. He's helping these guys make a lot of money. And I know Mike Tyson loves him. If he's going to make $100 million at the age of 57, I mean, how many
when he's
years?
Lost everything to King and he's going to get a chance to get $100 million back?
Right. When Don King was charging him $12,000 a week for towels, I mean, robbing him blind, so now am I going to watch it? No, I'm not going to watch it. I'm a purist. I've been boxing since I was 8 years old. My family still has a boxing gym in Philly off of 9th and Girard. Ray Ford, kid out of Philly, just won the belt, beat the champ, knocked him out with 7 seconds left. Make sure you guys check him out. Ray Ford, he was losing the fight. He pulled a Rocky on everyone with 7 seconds left. He knocked the kid out as an underdog and won the belt. He's out of Cherry Hill, out of TKO boxing. Nice kid. So, yeah, I'm a boxing purist. I still train kids in my spare time, but I'm not going to watch the fight.
I'm going to tell you a story about Mayweather. I used to go to Vegas all the time, and I'm friends with Oscar De La Hoya. And so, like, HBO and the MGM had deals with, and they would fly me in. Roy Jones Jr. is a dear friend of mine. Bernard Hopkins, all these guys. I became friends with a lot of them. Tyson. Foreman's been on my show 4 times already, and I love George Foreman. Well, so I asked Floyd, and my daughter's sitting there, and, he's got a pretty rough reputation. He's really kind to his kid. He loves his kid. And I go, and he's listening to something, and I go, we're sitting in the green room, and I go, what are you listening to? He goes, you want to really hear? I go, yeah. He puts the phone up next to my ear. You have $273 million. Access, $269.5 million. And I'm going, what is this? He goes, it's my checking account. And I go, why? He goes, do you think I trust any one of these people with my money, that these guys are going to take their 33% off the top? Because this is what happens if you make a he was the guy that schooled me in on this. Yeah. He goes, let's say you make $1 million. That promoter gets 33% of that right off the top.
Yep.
So now you're down to $670,000. Well, the gym, you think he's paying for the rent of it? You're paying for the rent of it. That's another $1,500 to $1,600 a day in training for you if you're there 8 hours. That comes out usually to another 20. And so, I mean, even Larry Holmes told me, you on $1 million payday, you're lucky to come out of that with $250.
Yeah, well, you got to pay your trainer, cut man, guy that wraps your hands. You got to pay the IRS. What's left at the end? I mean, you do the math. It's not that much. So, you work, you train your whole life for that $1 million payday, and then, like you said, when it's all said and done, you bring back maybe a quarter, $250 of it, and that's why these guys keep fighting. They keep fighting, and a lot of these guys are bad with money too.
Yep.
Most of the gyms, 99.9% of the gyms, they're not on the main line. They're not at Villanova. They're not. They're in rough neighborhoods.
No, they're not at the School of Wharton.
Right.
Learning how to handle their dough.
They're not at Yale, Harvard. So these kids had a rough upbringing. Usually a father figure isn't around to show them the ropes. So, they make some money. They want to go buy a new car, a new house. Next thing you know, they're broke again. And they owe the IRS money. So I got a funny Mayweather story if you want to hear it. But I clowned him out in Vegas years ago. I was at the Venetian. I was waiting for some people. I was at the craps table just messing around. And I think Floyd was like 4-0 at the time. So here comes Floyd with his little entourage. It wasn't that big at the time. Craps table. He's throwing money around. Boom, 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 boom. I get a phone call. I got to leave. I see him crap out right away, lost his money. So now I'm ahead of him, and we're waiting for the valet. I turn around to him. I hand him the valet ticket. I'm like, go get my car, man. He's like, what? I said, you're the valet guy, right? He goes, what? He goes, you don't know who I am? I said, my bad. At the time, there was this fighter named Obakar. Kind of looked like him a little bit.
Yeah.
I said, you're Obakar, right? He's like, Obakar? He goes, I'm Floyd Mayweather Jr. I go, I know who you are, man. I'm just So we started laughing, gave me a hug. And actually, the kid I trained, Wahid Rahim, who trained Stephen Fulton, who was a 2-time world title holder, his brother, Zaire Rahim, was best friends with Floyd growing up. They were in the Olympics together. So I started bringing up his name and how we trained together, and he was all nice after that. At the time, he had like a maroon Hummer when they first came out. I don't know if you guys remember. So I kind of clowned him a little bit, but then it was, we got friendly.
I was very close friends with the King family, and the son is a friend of mine, and that's how my girlfriend, now wife, we would end up going. And so we went to a couple Tyson fights. $3,000 tickets, the Peter McNeely fight. We're sitting ringside, and my wife sits down. She buys this dress. We got these tickets for free, and this guy starts running around the ring. My wife goes, "This won't last long." I go, "Trust me." And sure enough, that thing was over within I think like the first 35 seconds. She goes, "This thing's over, right?" I go, "Yes, it's over."
Yeah. Wasn't he doing pizza commercials? The worst was I went to see Tyson fight Spinks, closed circuit TV at the Tower Theater. I went to get popcorn. I came back. The fight was over. Back then you had to go either to like the Spectrum. I watched Sugar Ray Leonard Hagler at the Spectrum on closed circuit. I watched Tyson. I didn't even watch it, but Tyson and Spinks on at the Tower Theater. So back then they had closed circuit TV. It wasn't even. Couldn't even watch from your house.
You know what today is? Today's the anniversary of Frazier beating Ali.
Wow.
71 fight in Madison Square Garden.
I'll tell you something. Frazier had diabetes, and he was basically half blind in one eye. That's why he had that style. Boom.
Oh, right, huh?
So he could, to do what he did with one eye, people don't realize how great of a fighter Joe Frazier was. It's amazing.
Think about the trilogy.
Oh.
One fight separates the difference between being the greatest of all time and being the guy who fought the greatest of all time. That's how close Frazier was, because the Manila fight could have went either way. The second fight, in my opinion, Ali dominated him. But the Manila fight, I thought if Frazier had gotten up, I thought that maybe that final round, because Ali said he could barely stand.
Well, Frazier's trainer stopped the fight. Joe wanted to go.
Yeah.
Ali wasn't going to get up. Ali wasn't going to make it in that last. And back then, they used to fight 15 rounds. They were the championship rounds. They're the rounds of heart. It's so different today. If they fought, 12 rounders back then we'd be talking about Tommy Hearns instead of Sugar Ray Leonard. Because when he fought Sugar Ray, he was beating him until the 14th round.
That's right.
The game.
Then he knocked Hearns through the ropes.
Yeah. So
actually, I was living out in Vegas when he did that. Yeah. Philly Godfather, I could talk boxing with you. Believe me, I love the sport too. It's not quite the same as it once was, but I appreciate it, my friend. We will catch you next week. Tell folks how they can find you.
Find me on Twitter at Philly Godfather. Stop by my website, thephillygodfather.com. I bet the Purdue Boilermakers plus 750 to win the national championship in college basketball.
I got these as my top four and then my second four. Tell me if you think I'm right. I got Houston, UConn, Tennessee, Purdue, and I got my next four: Arizona, Iowa State, UNC, Marquette.
I like all of them. Iowa State's, they're a little outside the top 10 for me. Marquette, outside the top 10. If you want, I'll give you the true power rankings. I got Connecticut, I got Purdue, Houston, Arizona, Tennessee, Auburn, UNC, Duke, Creighton, and Illinois as the 10 best teams in the country.
Catch you next week, brother. Thank you.
Good luck, guys.
You got it. Hit the like button. Keep it here, National Football Show.
Imagine for a moment that you went to work today and when you came home, you were catastrophically injured. Your life and your family's life. That's what happened to union construction worker Mike Little.
I was scared of what the end was going to be, but to be 100% honest with you, I knew I was going to be all right just by talking with Brian. In my heart, I just knew everything was going to be all right.
Call the firm and find out why they say, "We got this." Call 215-458-2222.
field of life, First Trust Bank is there for you.
Champions on 3. 1, 2, 3.
Because Philadelphia dreams deserve a Philadelphia bank.
Underdog Fantasy is the easiest place to play fantasy sports, and certainly the easiest when you're watching the NBA. And the NBA playoffs are almost here, and you can win money making picks. What are you waiting for? Sign up on UnderdogFantasy.com and use the promo code WIN. An Underdog will double your first deposit up to $100. That's UnderdogFantasy.com. Use the promo code WIN. Get ready for the NBA and get ready for the NBA playoffs. Go to UnderdogFantasy.com. Use the promo code WIN.
Hi everybody, my name's Jason Lombardi. I'm an inspector at DryTech. At DryTech we offer three major services, the first one being basement waterproofing. The second service we offer is foundation and structural repairs. And then the third service that we offer is mold remediation. If you feel you are having a waterproofing issue, give DryTech a call or check us out online.
Do you stream on a Roku, Fire Stick, Google TV, or Apple TV? Now you can watch 6ABC 24/7 with the 6ABC Philadelphia streaming app.
For the big story on Action News,
Search 6ABC Philadelphia and start streaming today.
EAGLES. Eagles.
Eagles got 4 compensation picks? Yeah. How you doing? Yeah, more picks for Howie. Okay. Maybe that's the deal here. This is what we'll do. We'll get this guy about 35 picks. Hopefully, he lands on one of these guys. Okay? Hopefully he does. Okay? Right? Rocky was my favorite. He was so good. Marciano, if you think about it, he fought an older Lewis, and then really who did he fight? And you look at some of the people he fought, not one of your higher echelon boxing eras outside of him. I'm not saying he wasn't great, but he really didn't fight. He fought a 37-year-old Joe Louis who needed the fight because of the IRS. But Marciano, I think if I'm not mistaken, I forget what the record is, but he was undefeated. Okay? Oh, that's right. The clock deal this weekend. Marciano was fantastic. And obviously that's where Rocky got the name for the movie. 40-0, Daz. That's right. He was 40-0. I actually met a guy who had a poster of him before he died in September. I forget when he died, like in the late 60s or early 70s in a plane crash. And he had just visited him in Dallas. He's a mafioso, believe it or not, who owned Campese's restaurant, Joe Campese. And he wrote to Joe, and then I think 2 weeks later, he died in a plane crash. Okay? Absolutely. Next week, man, what a big shopping week. What will the Eagles do? They could have almost 50. Hey, by the way, is Reddick gone at the end of next week? That's going to be interesting. Have yourselves a great weekend. We will catch you. By the way, Krauses, thank you very much for all you do. Have a great weekend. God bless everyone. 2 to 6 on Monday, and we'll see you on the flip side.